afternoon, and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio, and a fine libations Friday to you and yours. Loosey-goosey. Jeff, that's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you're going to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't miss anything, but if you do, go back, get caught up at your leisure. Also, by the way, you can email the program if you like. JCS at 979 ESPNRadio.com. On Twitter at JCameron Show. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you're well. Is DeChambeau screwing up here? Is that what we got going on right now?
He looks cross. Yeah, he's staring at the rough with a little smarmy...
Is he about to cry?
Yeah, little brat who got caught with the cookie in the cookie jar. Kind of.
Well, what happened? Is he about to bogey a hole? I missed it. I mean, we're starting the show. I'm trying to...
I don't know. He may be parring the hole for all I know. He has that little grin or lack thereof.
That thing about him, right?
That blank eating grin or frown at all times. So it's hard to tell.
Well, I'll take a look when we get a chance. We do have some updating to do. How about Abraham Answer today, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, 9 under. And also, by the way, yeah, no surprise, Justin Thomas having himself a day as well. Right there amongst the leaders at 9 under. Cameron Smith surprising many. A lot of guys still out there on the course will be throughout the afternoon. I know Dustin Johnson is 8 under, one off the lead. And Patrick Cantlay is doing something along those lines. Tommy Fleetwood. Sung J.M., the warrior that is Sung J.M.,
and a really feel-good story today for one Rory McIlroy, who looked like he was lost and on his way to shooting an 80, followed by another 80, and he has turned it around with one hole to play. Maybe 2 left, actually.
Well, listen, let's talk about that for a second, and we'll get into some FSU here in a moment. Tiger Woods is out on the course. Patrick Reed is out on the course. A lot of good players out on the course. But Rory was very, very close to throwing up an ugly number, and not only not making the cut, and I think he's currently 3 or 4 under, whatever he is right now.
3 under, yes.
Okay, so listen, he's got a shot, and we'll see what the leading score is going to be at the end of the day, but he's got a shot to be within 6 shots of the lead, 5 shots, 6 shots of the lead. That seemed unimaginable. And if you guys were at work and you didn't get to see this, if you were watching this guy's body language and you were watching the results of the shots, you've been there as a golfer, as somebody who's played or certainly watched enough of it, then you know that lost sort of, I have no idea where this is going to go. What am I doing wrong? I can't fix this. I am frustrated beyond reason. And the difference is, obviously, when you and I go out there and we have a bad day at the office, let's say we go to beautiful Killearn Country Club to play a round of golf, as we're wont to do. We all have good days and bad days and everything in between, but there have been days for both of us where it's like swinging a golf club is foreign. You very, very rarely see that for a pro, and it's all relative. I mean, they're not going to do what we do when we're not feeling good over the ball, but they are going to do something that feels the same to them. And he was doing that. He had no idea. He's pulling shots 40 yards left. He's blocking balls out. He had a 2-way miss. He's blocking balls out to the right by 30 yards. He's ending up in the water and short by 50 yards. I mean, he was doing things that equates to, on the PGA Tour, having a meltdown. And this is the spot of the famed meltdown before he won all his majors, where he had the lead going into 10 and then just, oh my God, it all unraveled, you know? And so ever since then, he's asked every year, can you win at Augusta to complete the career Grand Slam? And that's all he ever hears about. So when he starts to go south and everybody else is scoring and the conditions are great, then you know it's in his head. You're watching that. You're like, everybody is out here taking dead aim at the flag. The greens are receptive, and you're the only guy in plus numbers. What's going on? To overcome that death spiral, Tom, that is heart, man. That is toughness. That is grit. And he was asked about grit before the Masters started. That's grit right there.
Yeah, it's finding a shot that you can go to. And he was searching. I mean, look, if you search for Rory McIlroy tracer technology from earlier today, you'll see him on the 13th tee. It essentially goes straight left into the woods. I mean, like straight left, like a low pull hook that you or I would hit if our timing is off. And then on 16T, he hits a shot in his follow-through. He says, that's so bad. And typically for a pro, that means 20 yards short, or it's blocked out to the right. It was, you know, the pond that everybody skips the ball over that John Rahm had the hole-in-one in this week? He put it dead in the center of it. It wasn't even close. I think +3 or +4 was as bad as it got for him today.
Yeah, got to +4, yeah.
All right, so he's in the fairway on the 9th hole, his final hole of the day in round 2. he's -3. He's completely flipped this thing on its head. And the interesting thing is to watch him and Dustin Johnson in that same group. They were in featured groups today, which is where Tiger just birdied number 2 to go to 5 under par.
There you go, LT Gray.
Dustin shanked 3 or 4 shots in the last day and a half, too. Wedge is going into greens where he's missing it short and about 20 yards to the right.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I don't know. And yet, Dustin has a chance to be tied for the lead when he finishes his round because he's in the fairway at 9. So these two guys, very different things that they're battling, different scores or scopes of the things that they're battling, but they're battling through them.
I like watching that, man. I like watching anybody do that, unless it's DeChambeau. I like to watch guys do that, though, because that's a special kind of determination. That is down deep in the cockles where people don't like to think and talk about things, buddy. That is reaching back.
Well, and the weird thing, too, about this round is, of course, darkness and the delay yesterday pushed round 1 into this morning.
You can't say darkness without me going, darkness.
As I was finishing saying it, I'm like, please don't call to attention Dave Chappelle.
Oh, what can we do? You have to. It's one of the great skits.
So the guys who finished this morning had to turn right around and play the course again. And in a lot of cases, the guys are playing the same 9 that they just wrapped up on. I think actually in every case.
Yes.
So if they start at 11, they go 11 through 18, and they go 10 to 18 again, back 1 through 9. So these guys have had the course to themselves forever. And the guys that we watched yesterday, like Tiger and Bryson and others, are just getting started. They'll be playing tomorrow morning to wrap up round 2.
When you're in the throes and agonies of the stress that's induced when you can't figure out your golf swing and you're towing the ball with your driver, as he did earlier today, meaning Rory, and you're fatting it with your irons or your whatever it might be, there can't be a worse thought than saying, yeah, when this round ends, I get to play the same 9 all over again. Great. Let's just keep on, shall we?
Well,
but luckily for him, he got it turned around enough that he probably couldn't wait to start because he had figured out whatever it was that was lost.
Well, and it's the 9 that delivered the death blow to Rory when he did collapse. Yeah. So it's like, really, can't go 1 through 9 here. Got to go back to the site.
That's reaching down deep, man. That makes me appreciate it. I'd love to see him go really low tomorrow and put himself with a chance to win. That would be putting to bed the demons, man. That would be doing some things.
So at about 8:30, 9 o'clock this morning, it looked like both Rory McIlroy and Brooks Koepka were left for dead.
And Brooksy's at 5 under.
Things have changed. Things have really changed.
Yeah, it's an exciting leaderboard. There are a lot of great players that obviously will be around for the weekend. That includes Phil. Phil's 5 under as he heads to the weekend. Good for that guy who actually couldn't hit the broadside of a barn for most of this year. Not on the PGA Tour. He's killing it on the Champions Tour. But, man, on the PGA Tour, I mean, he's missing fairways by 40 yards.
If you're looking for the free space on the bingo card for the weekend, 48-inch driver, Phil Mickelson. Those things are going to go together. Every time he's up there talking about the 48-inch driver. But he's slinging it out there pretty accurately.
Yeah, I saw him hit 2 that were bombed out in the middle of the fairway when that's first fairway you've hit this year. Good Lord. And then he did it again. So good for him. It should be fun. A lot of fun. Love the Masters. And by the way, that pond you're talking about, I watched Justin Thomas do that. I'm standing probably, 20 yards from him. Just watched him do that. Those guys all step up there, and the gallery will cheer him on. It's during the practice rounds, and they'll tell him, do it. And some guys do it. Some guys choose not to. But he walked over and did it. These guys are so unbelievably skilled. He was joking around. He asked the crowd where they wanted him to place it on the green, and then he just dropped the ball down and went right up there. I'm like, he could have just done that if it were an actual round of golf. Would have been like, I'll do it now in competition. They all make it look like it's the easiest thing in the world.
So the patrons weren't there for the practice round, but seeing John Rahm's shot executed, is that one of the greatest shots in golf history? Has to be.
So cool. It's so cool. Yeah, and then he laughed about it. It was on his birthday, and he laughed about it and said, "Oh man, I wish the patrons could have seen it because it took forever. It would have been so loud.
It would have gone nuts.
Yeah,
it would have been a Sunday roar on a practice round."
Yeah. Those guys, there are things you see when you go watch the pros, no matter where it is, whether it's at Augusta National or if you're at, wherever you are, Sawgrass, whatever. They do things that you just realize, oh, well, that's other world. It's like when you get down close to the court of an NBA or an elite college game, or you're down on the sidelines for, back when we were good at football, an FSU game. You see the speed, the sidelines for a Bucks game or something. You see how fast and how talented all these guys are. When you get to that level, you realize, oh, well, yeah, we like to think we can play a little bit, but these guys are transcendent.
So the 3 craziest things I've ever seen on a football sideline, in no particular order. One is Kelvin Benjamin's catch against Clemson in 2013, because his foot and hip are like above my head as he's making that catch. It's stupid. It is the hit by Nigel Bradham against LaRon Bird.
Ooh, that was a good one.
That was 2011, if memory serves.
Special. Corey Harris hung out to dry.
It was in that corner of the end zone by the student section, and you could feel the impact of the hit, and it's probably about 50 yards away still.
Yeah.
And it's unsettling. And then the third one was the Carlos Williams jump cut against Miami in the fourth quarter of 2013.
A little hoppity-doo.
We go, oh, no. That's just some things are different.
Yeah.
And those things were all different.
Yeah, especially for a man that big.
To do it that fast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right. So Florida State plays a game tomorrow. I'll remind you tomorrow morning, like we said at the outset here, we'll be here for Tallahassee Game Day. 10 a.m. We're on the air. You can listen to it right here, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Also, if you want to watch the show, we'll be on War Chant TV on YouTube, and you can watch Tom and myself performing the pregame duties that we have. You can ask questions. Certainly, we would ask you to weigh in. Admittedly, this has been a weird week. You have the holiday in the middle of the week with Veterans Day, and we certainly said Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans out there. But you say the week gets bisected, and then you have the situation where it's like, the Masters starts up. It's only the biggest tournament in the world, and it's in November, which is odd. And then you have a huge surge in COVID, and a lot of games are getting canceled. My point would be there are a ton of distractions and reasons to kind of focus on those other things than Florida State football. It doesn't even feel like it's a game weekend for Florida State.
No, the game is an afterthought. You don't have to run from that. Your Knoll card is not in danger if you believe that, because even within the program, the story this week is about the guys that are no longer with the team. Now, hopefully, there's a performance tomorrow night in Raleigh-Durham in which you can say, all right, now that becomes the story. That we have guys that play hard for Mike Norvell. There is an identity building and forming. Maybe not in victory, but that takes over the storylines. But up to this point, it is Marvin Wilson's not here anymore. He'll be on the sidelines. Tamorian Terry won't even be on the sidelines. He's gone. And others. I mean, even I saw that Corey Durden pulled a tweet last night, apparently, that said that, he wishes he could play with his guys and he'll be back soon. So you might not even have him in the defensive interior. This week is all about what you don't have. It's not about what you do have. So the game will be played, but it's just going to happen upon us tomorrow at 7:30.
Yeah, and it's also about what didn't happen this year. We've come to a conclusion. There are games still to be played, but we've come to a conclusion. This is a disastrous season, and you hope it does not portend of the future for this coaching staff and their plight, their run here. Don't know, might. I wouldn't invest in that emotion or that thought just yet and say that I think that's what's going to happen. But I can't tell you it's not. That we didn't get to see the kind of progress we had hoped for, even marginal, even though we went into it knowing that this would be a season unlike any other, and that in some cases it's worked out for some programs, and we've been surprised to watch the success that, say, BC, or I keep bringing up Arkansas and others that have had. And then there are established programs with established cultures that have had nothing but success the last 3 and 4 years who can't seem to win a game. Penn State hasn't. LSU is terrible. So you see my point. It's just a weird season, and identifying outliers to hang your hat on is what people do when they want to make an argument one way or the other. But I, too, can find the counter and look at this other outlier. What we're mired in here is something that requires a lot of effort and patience. And, man, patience is not something we have as fans typically. And also, it's the not knowing. It's the sense of, well, I don't know. They probably didn't do everything right that they could have done. That's true, and therefore they're not beyond criticism. They also were damned from the start with all of the things that befell this group. So now you just are kind of in limbo as you wait out the storm, and it sucks doing that.
I don't think we're in limbo, though. I think we're
You're right. Okay, yes.
We're out of there.
Conclusions.
There is no more hope for a turnaround on the fly. This is not an on-the-fly fix. You got to remake the whole casserole. And to me, the mantra
starting from scratch.
I'm going to preach to myself is, and I have been, the nature of the rebuild is fundamental. So you're looking for little pieces, anything. It's not, this guy can help us next year get to 10 wins. No. That guy can help you get to 6 or 7, maybe 8 if you have some turnover luck. unless something crazy happens in the transfer portal this year with JUCOs and other kinds of transfers, I just don't see a path to where you can expect 10 wins, even with an ACC slate next year. You can't. You're trying to get back to 500, then you're trying to get to 8-4, then you're trying to get to 10-2. I mean, this is incremental growth that's necessary, and hopefully it starts this weekend with a group that looks like it rallies around its coach and plays hard for its coach.
Yeah, I certainly, that's the only thing you can, hope to see is that they play hard, because I don't think they're going to win the game, and they could. It's not like NC State's a juggernaut. But if, in fact, you're starting a true freshman quarterback without your best offensive lineman.
Right. What were the two reasons for success, the two principal reasons for success on offense this year? One was Jordan Travis, and that was obvious.
Not going to play.
And then what became clear last week, Devontae Love-Taylor is the other reason for success.
He's your anchor. They can move the pocket around, roll him out, and really simplify the hell out of this game plan, although it was pretty simple before, but he's not going to be able to make the same sorts of plays that Jordan Travis did with his legs. There's a suddenness to Jordan Travis that I don't think Chubba Purdy has. Oh, if you want to argue straight line speed, sure, he's probably even faster than Jordan Travis from what we understand, but he doesn't have the same wiggle in a phone booth that Jordan does. Jordan does some things really well. He also rides that fake exceptionally well. We'll see if Chubba has that. I don't know.
My hope is he has eyes in the back of his head, because Jordan had those.
Well, until he got blown up last week.
From behind. It eventually broke him a little bit. But, yeah. I mean, his instincts were there. I don't know that Chubba has those. And then does he have the ability, which we always look for? You and I both. It's ranked high on our list. Eyes stay down the field as you break the pocket.
It's an awful lot to ask of a true freshman quarterback who missed a ton of time trying to rep this offense.
You can learn it somewhat, but if you've got it, you've got it. And that's what we're looking for.
He can also be beaten out of you, though, and that's the other thing that you hope doesn't happen here. There's so much in that sense. You're right. That is what we're looking for, but also it's our greatest fear that this is a disaster and he gets pummeled. And the next thing you know, because he got hit hard last week, too. Now, the good news for him is that he got hit hard and got up every time. It didn't seem the worse for the wear. And for a kid who had an injury, you worry about being, quote-unquote, brittle. He was fine.
We also all do this, probably without thinking about it, but we look at his eyes real quick. What do we got here? When he gets rocked,
are you with it? Are you okay?
What does he look like? And he looked defiant when he got hit. And he looked like he was willing to talk back to whoever hit him. I like that. That's good.
I like that a lot. What I would like more is the quick game and guys that are engaged, firing off the ball, playing hard for him, and getting us into a situation where maybe you got a game in the second half, and who knows if game pressure causes anything there. It's not like NC State's elite.
What's the Michael Jackson hyperbaric chamber? Is that what he would?
Yeah.
That's what we need for Darius Washington this week. I hope he was just no practice, just put him in the chamber.
Didn't T.O. use
T.O. use one of those too?
T.O. I think lots of people have. I don't. Yeah, that's. We also need to be able to give our players numbing agents, the things that help you get through these moments, Tom. Because we're super thin at the position, and some of the guys that. They have to sub in there.
We're super thin as a program. We're not exactly feasting on anything. We're pretty skinny as a program right now.
Starving.
Square meal.
Out in the wilderness. We got to come home. We got to find a way. We got to get this thing turned around.
Emaciated, really.
Just searching for crumbs, Tom. Anything to get us through to next season. Anything. And that's what you'll hear tomorrow on Tallahassee Game Day. Jeff Cameron Show. Little Masters update for you. Tiger Woods is 5 under. This brought to you by Killearn Country Club. Might note Bryson DeChambeau carded a triple bogey 7. That'll hurt your feelings. Did that on number 3 and then promptly bogeyed the par 3 number 4. A little 4 over the last 2 holes is a toughie.
I love Killearn Country Club. Gets my stamp of approval.
So I'm just kind of having fun watching just now the triple.
Boy, oh boy. So he's at 3 over, or I'm sorry, 2 over now.
It's a tough day at the office there.
Cut line's -1. Bryson better get to work.
He's +1. He's tied for 59th.
Ooh, top 50 in ties in the Masters. It's not like a typical PGA or major with 70. It's top 50 in ties.
Elsewhere on the day, as we do the Killearn Country Club update for you, Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas both finished their rounds tied for the lead at 9 under par. More notable than, say, Abraham Answer and Cam Smith. Nothing against those guys, just not the same in terms of the weightiness of the name alongside the number.
That's true, but both of those players have been on the come if you listen to the golf experts.
Yes, yeah.
And they're saying, look out for Abraham Answer for a couple years now and Cam Smith more recently.
Answer, by the way, had a stretch earlier this year where he played for about a 3-week stretch as the best player in the world. I mean, he was exceptional, and then it kind of fell off a little bit. But, yeah, it's in there. He can play. I know Tommy Fleetwood is in the clubhouse today at 7 under, a past champion, and Danny Willett, which he's there at 7 under. Get the hell up out of here, Danny.
Hey, man, so Tommy Fleetwood is putting himself in position. He wants to be about the 4th or 5th
he likes to feel the pain?
Group. No, well, if he feels the heat of the leaderboard, like for real the heat of the leaderboard, he's going to lose and lose by a lot. He's going to shoot 78. But if, let's say, he's teeing off 5 groups ahead of the leaders on Sunday, which is where he's kind of putting himself in position for right now, he might be able to fire that 63 and snake one.
Snake one.
Mm-hmm. That's how he's going to have to do it.
So Ricky Fowler is not an unmitigated disaster. 4 under, top 20 right now.
Wow, miraculous.
Out of nowhere. He's going through a swing change. Did you know that?
I would hope so.
Well, he is. He's actively going through a swing change, and his results have mirrored that swing change, which is inconsistent, to say the least.
Working on it between his commercials that he's filming?
A lot of money in commercials, Tom. Phil Mickelson, 5 under, notable. Justin Rose, 6 under. Justin Rose, thanks. A year after I pick you and you missed the cut. Appreciate you.
You see how he finished yesterday?
I did not.
Okay, so he is absolutely falling to pieces.
Brooks Koepka, 5 under for the day.
Yes, sir.
There it is.
What a turnaround.
Yeah.
So Justin is on the pine needles on number 8.
Pine needles.
And he blades his chip through the green, and he's got a 25-footer. That's for par. He makes the par putt. Then he sinks a 15-footer on 9 to close his night, parlays it into some positive momentum for him. He was about to fall apart, hits a couple of long putts, and he's back in it.
That's he fell the hell apart a year ago when I picked him. Yes, he did. Had the number 1 overall pick, Tom. Took him. He was the odds-on favorite.
You never know. Hey, Augusta can yield some 65s or 64s over the weekend, so any of these guys can catapult. But I was like you with Rory McIlroy this morning when you said, "Oh no, Rory," and the whole world was.
Well, it was uncomfortable.
And I said, "This is what I get. The one time I rallied to Rory, he's going to quit the game."
Well, you rallied back when he was dominating the game and when he won the British, and it was the sweetest looking. I mean, that tee to green at the British highlight reel that they put together that's like 6 minutes is the nicest round of golf I've ever seen. It's unreal.
Oh, I was behind him at that time because it was real. It was happening.
Locked in, yeah.
But the reason I rallied around Rory shortly after that too was because everybody wanted to put the crown on Jordan Spieth's head. It's like, it's over.
And
here's
Rory's
your next
like,
one.
Look, man,
like, hey, well,
I'm
wait
out
a minute.
Here winning majors
He's
too.
got 4 majors.
Yeah.
But after 6 years, I kind of, as 4 became 5, and we're through 5, and he has all these things where they're like the putting's fixed. He went with Brad Faxon. February and March, he's a killer. He wins the Tour Championship, or he wins over in Ireland. It's like all these things except for the big weekends when he implodes.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is, again, I mean, the standard we hold him to is impossibly high, which he earned. He did that, right?
He's not a victim of his own success.
No, and I would say that's true. But what I would say is that it is a little unfair. We act as if he hasn't done anything since winning these majors. I mean, he did win the Tour Championship. He has played exceptionally well in Ryder Cup. He's done good things. He just hasn't won yet another major. And he hasn't fallen to pieces in all those majors. He's got a top 10. He's got a couple of them. Even when he plays terribly here, he's 22nd last time.
But that's the thing about his standard is if he plays up to the way he played in the Tour Championship or the way he played at Bay Hill or someplace else.
He's unbeatable when he plays that
He'll
way.
win a major by 5.
Yeah. Oh, he's one of the few players because of the game and the talent, he's one of the few people capable of boat racing the field in a major. Very few people you could say that about. You really wouldn't say that about Dustin Johnson, I don't think, even though he's really good.
Not unless it's like a U.S. Open, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you would, and there's aren't too many people anymore that you would really say that about. Brooks can do that.
Maybe Bryson, still to be determined.
Maybe
he's failing this weekend.
On the right course, he can do things to it that other people can't.
Well,
yeah,
and that's where I heard Michael Collins on today, and he's always hilarious. But he said, "Listen, folks, that's why 350 for Bryson off a tee at Augusta it doesn't work the same as it would somewhere else. This is a second shot golf course, not a tee shot golf course. Big difference."
Yeah, and the weird thing is, though, Bryson improved a lot, and one of the reasons he won his major isn't just because he hits it a mile. He got really good on the greens. He started making putts, and he was good around the greens. He actually has touch. I mean, it's the weird – you're right, that second shot's different. He was trying to erase the process. In a lot of cases, he can, because if your second shot's a wedge, he's good with wedges. If your second shot's a 9-iron out of the rough, he's really good with that. But if you are having to shape a shot with a 6-iron around, that's a different deal. So we'll see if he makes the cut or not. Would be heartbreaking to see the odds-on favorite not even make the cut. I know we'd all be just devastated. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. So, guys, on your radar, it's for tonight that we'll have to pay close attention, and I'll let Tom get time to cue it up as he cues down The Replacements, one of the great songs ever made, just as an aside. But here you go. We began to bring this back slowly but surely, and figure we could all use the uptick, the upswing, and positive feelings. So if you would, fire it up.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, no, no. Hell no, no, to the no.
Time for the Hell to the Nah team of the week. A lot of games canceled. The numbers out there aren't massive. It's hard to find somebody who is a massive underdog, but you do get East Carolina weighing in, Tom, as 28-point underdogs to Cincinnati. It's been a banner year for Cincinnati, obviously. But we looked. We found a 24 out there. We found a 25.5. We did not find anything greater than 28, so here you go. The books have it. East Carolina, 28-point underdogs to Cincinnati, your Hell to the Nah team of the week, and that game is tonight.
No, no.
I didn't time that well. He was settling in. It's all right. But I will say this. We've tried to project at times in the past where we thought somebody had a chance. Remember there was that stretch, Tom, where TCU struggled with Kansas every year?
Every year.
And we'd be like, what is going on with TCU and Kansas? And TCU would find a way to win, but it'd be like by 3 or 7, and they were 40-point favorites.
And there was the one time that Virginia scared Notre Dame half to death.
Oh, that's right. Well, we almost had to call UVA.
Close.
That would have been an easy call, given that my nephew would have been there. But no, so here you go. We may be calling the East Carolina bookstore, right? It's not unfathomable. They're not good, but Cincinnati's not. It's not like Ohio State is playing East Carolina. It's Cincinnati.
That's correct. But Cincinnati is playing the role of UCF quite well this year.
Well, they're
just
best
dominating
defense.
And blowing the doors off everybody else in their conference.
Yes, they've done it to teams, too, that, look what they did to Memphis.
Like what ECU did to UCF, and just to stymie them, hold them down a little bit. If you look at the way the game was played, the UCF shouldn't have been in a position to cover at all. It was eye-opening, but then you realize that, UCF's not that great this year.
No, they're not.
Not by their standards.
No.
Yeah, so.
Well, I will say this. UCF lost their two best players. It's kind of interesting. There have been a couple. Pat Burnham, who works for the Osceola, is a friend of mine, and his brother coaches for UCF, is a coach, a defensive coach on that team. And so I get some insight on UCF from time to time. And he was telling me before the year, he's like, they're not that good. Mm-hmm. And I told you that because I want my sporting guys to have a chance.
Well, you told me the week after I got backdoored by ECU, but it shouldn't have been in a position anyway. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to go to town on UCF these next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And it was good. That was one of the few bright spots was the insight on UCF.
It helps to know people. There's a guy down at USF who told me before the year they were going to be one of the worst teams in the country. They do suck. I mean, they are terrible. He knew they would be awful, that their offense would be one of the worst you'd see all year long. And that does be, man, that's got to be infinitely frustrating. You should not be bad on offense if you're a team in the state of Florida. And we are. We're not any good either. I'm just saying you ought not. I mean, these kids fall off of trees. There's so many athletes, so many receivers and running backs and tight ends and elite players in the state of Florida. I mean, anywhere you look. South Florida, Central Florida, Tampa, St. Pete, North Florida. I mean, there's talent everywhere in the Jacksonville area.
They don't see the border of the state as any barrier anymore. Now,
Not anymore.
COVID might flip that a little bit. Some kids might stay close to home, but that doesn't do Tallahassee all that well. I mean, the Big Ben's got some players, but nothing like Miami, Orlando, or Tampa.
Well, I was talking to Lee Sterling off the air before we did talk this week, and I, he and I were talking about recruiting. He goes to a lot of these games down in South Florida to the Miami high schools, and he likes to look to see who the Canes are bringing in, but also which kids are looking at Florida or Georgia or whomever, right? And he was saying that, he really feels bad for Mike Norvell. And I said, oh, well, that's nice of you. Thank you. Patronize us, why don't you? But he said, no, I do. He goes, it's ridiculous. These coaches are not allowed to, get in their car and go down and see live high school football? What's going on? You got to be able to go stand on the sidelines and watch a kid for yourself. He's like, I just feel for him and his staff because of what's happened since he said yes to this job. And while you get to become a multimillionaire by saying yes to this job, you ultimately want to win and do your job well. And you want to talk about being prohibited in a lot of ways from doing your job well with all that's happened. My goodness gracious.
And that's where a network, if you couldn't do it, that's where a network of people around those programs would help you because they know what type of player you're looking for, what measurables that maybe the tape doesn't show. And you could just call that person up and say, tell me about this player.
Tell me about this kid here. Yeah.
That relationship doesn't exist right now.
You're going to have to forge one. You're going to have to create one. Now, I'm sure they're actively doing that. You know, there are services, by the way, that schools pay to help them in recruiting.
They're doing well this year.
Yeah, they're very well, yes. And, you know, you call these services and say, hey, and you build a relationship and a trust, and you say to these guys, look, I need a guy who can do this in my offense. I need a guy, this is what we're going to run on defense. I need a player who can do this, play this certain role, right? For Florida State, it's not too difficult. We need anybody. Can they play a little bit? Like even a little bit. We need them. Send them our way. Why aren't they being recruited by Miami or Florida? Okay, good.
But
we'll take them.
Actually, this is something that's critical. You need guys that are going to be the right type of players, though, and you trade a little bit of talent for a little bit of culture at this point. Because if you try and do the same thing that Jimbo did towards the end when he got lazy, and then Willie did when they didn't have a plan and they lost, and so they couldn't get the blue chippers that they wanted. You can't bring in high-risk players right now.
No, you got to have
culture
sure
is
things.
too freaking fragile.
No,
for
you got to have guys that will buy in, and there will be a baseline commitment to the values that you're trying to disseminate now to your players and throughout that locker room. Sure. Well, this is why we said it's not a quick fix. This is why we said this is going to take some time because you're going to have to bring in some guys who might not be good enough. They're not big enough, not strong enough, not fast enough to beat some of the better teams that you're going to face every year, whether that's Clemson or Notre Dame or Florida or Miami. But that's okay. They just got to be good enough to beat Louisville and NC State and, Virginia.
Like Kelvin Benjamin, as talented as he is, can exist when you have Joyner and Jernigan and Wilder and that network to keep everybody in check.
You've got guys to keep people in check.
Because remember, he pops off in 12 and he hadn't done a damn thing yet. And so he was just a big guy who never lived up to the billing.
Yeah, it was right after the Orange Bowl. He was pissed off about not getting targets.
But the program didn't crash into the side of a mountain because one guy was irresponsible. No. In fact, we got better, and then he had to come along for the ride.
Yeah, he was forced to come along for the ride, and we got the most out of him for that singular season. He was incredible. And
this program is not strong enough to handle that for even one dude to be totally out of line.
Evidently. We just saw it. Ryan Terry is no longer with the program. He was your only elite level talent. I'm not saying he was producing that way, but he was your only elite level talent on offense. The only one. If you could have withstood those sort of outbursts or the immaturity of a Tamorrion Terry, which clearly that's his problem, is immaturity. He never knows what he thinks. One second he's ripping the coaches, then he's been made to apologize and says he's sorry and wants to come back to the team. Then the next second he's back with the team. Then he's yelling at a coach on the sideline. And then next thing you know, he's back and apologizing. He's back with the team. And the next thing you know, he's kicked off the team. That's a kid who's just not in control of his emotions, who has outbursts, who has issues, right? But you're right. If you would withstand a lot of that, we know that this is in direct correlation to your talent, how often you're allowed to do that. If you're uber talented, you get a lot of outbursts. If you're not, then you're told to have a good day. Nobody needs it. But in our situation, we've reached a place where no matter who you are, look, this season's lost. It doesn't matter. You're not winning games, and we can't afford to have this. We've got to get all the buy-in we can get, so it doesn't matter who you are. You got to go. You got to go if you got that.
Well, and this is where we're going to learn who our head coach is. It's not from his preseason talks. It's not from the booster Zoom meetings or the first time he was introduced and he gives you the fiery pulpit speech. It's now. This is it. Because this roster purge this week, as many as it is, I think there's more coming. Probably, right? By the end of the year?
Yeah, or transfers, and it might be amicable in some cases, certainly.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, you've had 3 coaches here and everyone's failed you. You might want to leave, and I don't blame you.
Well, there are kids who just aren't going to fit in what you're trying to do, and they won't be here to see it through, so you would almost go to them as a head coach and say, look, you might be best. Like Trey McKitty going to Georgia made sense. I was like, okay, I got you, man. You got 1 year to play? You want to win some games? Now, plus it's hard. He goes to a place that doesn't have a quarterback, but
boy, Jamie Newman would have done fine this year, right? For them?
Yeah.
I bet they wish they had Jamie Newman for the Florida game.
Well,
That's crazy.
Or Justin Fields.
Right. They got screwed that Fromm played his ass off, and they should have won the national title that year.
I would have argued, and they did argue, and that was a great debate amongst Georgia fans, was, Fromm's played well, but he ain't Justin Fields. Let's go with the Justin Fields upside. Let's take our chances that kid's going to transcend wherever Fromm's at.
So what this week tells me is that Norvell was trying to have his cake and eat it too, in terms of leading the team, leading them out of this dark period, but then also putting up with some stuff in
Every
order to
coach
get
seems
from A
to
to
do
B.
that. You ever notice that?
Stop it. He looks like he's holding back at certain times on the sideline. Militaristic Mike is in there. I know he's in there.
But
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it next year. Here's the thing. The reason it happened again this year, we have to keep reiterating it. It's a year unlike any other in the history of college football. If you run a bunch of guys off and deplete the roster and alienate other guys, and then you have a COVID outbreak, your season is over. You don't have enough players. So they coddled partly because they just had to. You had to have enough guys.
That's the most disappointing thing to me,
Yeah.
is this week indicates that there was coddling going on. And, come on. What are we doing?
Well, here's what let's say specific to Terry. Let's go back to Terry. What do we know? What do we not know? All right, well, we know he got hurt against Georgia Tech. So he's been hurt the entirety of the season, and that had to have pissed him off. He makes this commitment to come back, and he goes out there, and his quarterback...
James gets him killed.
His quarterback makes a throw that you can't make, and he does, and gets him killed. All right, so now he's hobbled. Now he can't put the tape out there that he wants to put out. That would make anybody be in a bad mood, all right? But now he's trying to fight through it. Well, he's immature, so he's fighting through it. He's frustrated. Team's not winning. Inconsistent play. He's not getting targets. So he lashes out. All right, well, now you're about to be off the team. He joined in the stupid mini uprising about the Warren Thompson COVID tweet or whatever the hell policy. Then he's shown that he gets no support. The rest of the team's like, no, man, they're doing everything they said they were going to do as far as testing goes. You and Warren are wrong. Even Marvin's like, yeah, no, I'm not down with that. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So they're made to walk it back and come in, tail tucked between their legs. So that's humiliating, right? But both do, Warren Thompson and Tamorian Terry, both.
Yeah, more Warren than anybody else. And Warren starts game one.
That's right.
That was the first thing where I went, okay.
I wouldn't have done it. But hey, all right. You're lacking talent, need numbers. All right, maybe this is the moment where you bond. So they do that. It doesn't work out. Warren can't catch a cold, and he's volatile, and Terry is not good because he's banged up, and he gets hurt. And then he has outbursts, and he's yelling at our receivers coach on the sidelines. Dugan's having to wear that publicly. That's ridiculous. All of that stuff, right? All right, so then he's almost run out of here, and then he comes in once again and apologizes, and apparently they connect yet again. And then there clearly something happened in between these last two games, because there's just no way you would say what he said about him the other day at the press conference, which is Tamorian Terry's no longer with this program. Okay, that's the end of that. No long diatribe about I wish him well or anything else. They tried to walk that line. They tried to do all the things you could do to get some of the veteran players, the more talented and experienced players, to merge with the younger players. They were trying to, keep their numbers up, win some games, maybe get some momentum, and it doesn't work. It falls apart, and now you're really starting from scratch. And I don't know that they could have done it differently, but you're right. I'm very much a scorched earth guy, but you can be scorched earth when we're not dealing with COVID numbers.
Well, you could be a scorched earth guy now. You got 4 games left. If you get a COVID outbreak, anybody cancels a game for a COVID outbreak. So that's
no. I'm saying, but if you lose like a number of players at one position or something like that, then you may have multiple games in jeopardy.
Wins above replacement is like nil. So who cares? Who cares? They give me the replacements if they're going to be the guys that are in lockstep with this coach, and then you work the hell out of that transfer portal and JUCO portal,
buddy. Better work it. I don't know.
If there was a budget, quote unquote, the budget would be heavily placed in the portal, right?
Yeah, it's okay. So Ira and I were talking about this. One of the things you got to do, though, I use the example.
Anybody graduating from Memphis this year?
Sure. You tend to want to, first of all, you have scholarship limits until the NCAA says otherwise. So we need to figure out, are they going to suspend that rule like they did for baseball, and you have unlimited for this 1 year.
I believe so, yeah.
I mean, you're going to have to do that, right? So first you got to find out what the rule is going to be. Can you bring in more than 25? Can you? Because right now you can't. So if you can, what percentage of the rebuild and the locker room flip and the roster switch flip is a high school kid that you can mold and build in the image that you want by having him come in as a freshman and, use bond in the strength room and, build up his body and buy into the culture, and you shape him as he comes through the program? What percentage is that, and what percentage is a grad transfer or a senior or whatever it might be that wants to leave? Because you make the case all the time. I make the case all the time, and so do NFL scouts. You don't build your roster through free agency. You build it through the draft. It's very true in recruiting. You don't build your team and your team culture through grabbing JUCOs and grad transfers. You build it through bringing kids in from a high school.
Yeah, but I think you can get younger transfers as well. I doubt I don't know if they've announced it, but I doubt the NCAA is going to hold a kid out for a year, right? In this particular time.
Yeah,
I think it's the wild, wild west for a year, and so you might be able to get
you better do it.
A freshman or sophomore to come in.
Yes.
Yeah, then you got a long-term project, 3 to play 3, 2, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I would do a lot of that. That's a good point you bring up, because there are plenty of kids that go to school and then they become disenfranchised, disillusioned, and they decide, this isn't for me. What did I do? Find out who they are.
Right.
Find out where those kids are.
Well, and my number one thing would be don't reach for a low-level 4-star prospect just because they've got a 40 time that's a little bit better. You've got to have something built from the core out.
Yeah.
And if that means that we got to go at best 5 and 7 next year with 2 patsies on the schedule, then that's what it is.
You got to build the way Hamilton built.
I don't want to go 8 and 4 with a bunch of guys that are going to be culture problems that are going to set you back in the long term. I'd rather go 5 and 7 and build it out right with the right guys.
We talk about it all the time. It's just it's hard to do, and it's hard to be patient for. But look at the way Leonard did it, man. He wouldn't take certain guys. He stopped taking certain guys, or he'd suspend him the first time they screwed up, and you were just like, well, he's not having it. It'd be nice if he played. He's our best player. He's not. He's unwavering with that. Either you get
in
the
a
line.
Sweater and khakis tonight. All right.
There's that.
They didn't announce this one.
Nope.
I guess it's not an injury.
That's the end of that, right? And Leonard's not going to just suddenly say, oh, well, we have a chance tonight. I'm going to play that kid. Nope. No, because of what you're talking about. You're trying to set up a culture, build something from within that people can identify with and latch on to.
The good news is if you get somewhere close to that 6 and 6 level, right?
Now you've got a little momentum. Yeah, now you've got some kids will pay
you can get to 8 and 4 just by playing in this conference.
Yeah.
And then you can fake it till you make it. You could pitch at that point and say, look at what we've done here.
Let me ask you this, because there's a financial aspect to this, but also per our discussion yesterday. And the more I think about it, you're right. I hate seeing the Garnet and Gold get beat by 80, and I just can't stomach it. I won't watch it. I will not watch it. But I understand what you're saying. You can't dodge people. You got to play the games. I know the message. But I just think about doofus-ass Dabo Sweeney out there slinging it around up 90 and me wanting to physically harm him. Would you, however, consider canceling the games against Georgia and LSU and others because we're not in a position to play them?
No. You can't. You can't, because those are separate moneymakers.
Well, that's what I said. There's a financial aspect.
Yeah, but that's it. That's the end of the discussion to me. The score is irrelevant. If we have to be...
How many times can you parade your team out there to get beat by 60 for money and hope to persuade kids to come here? I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's tough. Like, you play that bowl game, you play that game against Clemson, you play that next. I mean, just one ass kicking after the other.
I know, and this is going to be a very old manish answer for me. Get tougher, get better. Sorry, the world's not fair sometimes.
No, I'm not saying.
And
that
Dabo can dance on us because Jimbo called play action off our goal line up 40 yards, or up 40 points, and there goes Nick O'Leary for almost a 99-yard touchdown.
They were still blitzing, and that was Jimbo's response. Like, you're still trying to play the game? We'll play the game. That was in direct response to Clemson not pulling their starters and still blitzing. And he's like, oh, you want to blitz? Okay. That was fair to me, and it was also not 66-3.
The game was over. It was late in the fourth quarter.
The game. But again, we've seen this over the years.
He probably reacted to us leaving our starters in that late.
He ran it up against Idaho State or whatever that was because that guy would not stop blitzing or wouldn't stop throwing.
We had a late pick 6 though, where Jimbo was like, "What do you want me to do?" Sorry about that.
Yeah, but that put us in the 80s. We were already at the 70s.
Right.
I mean, he was still playing because he didn't like, well, that guy was a clown, but he didn't like the way that guy left
It's Petrino, yeah.
Yeah, Petrino's still throwing the ball and shotgun.
That was the year of the weird handshake because the dead fish was a couple weeks later.
He gave him the look.
Chip was like, what the hell?
Yeah. You're out there throwing the ball like a dumbass.
That's what I do.
Yeah. That's my favorite moment of the season this year. We saw them do it, screaming it.
I mean, it's like Stone Cold walking down the aisle, and he's just rambling. I have no idea what Stone Cold's saying.
Yelling it up to the sky.
Yeah.
Stone Cold.
That was funny, though. I mean, that let you know the pressure he's under.
Yeah, it reminded me of Paul Johnson. That's like something that Paul Johnson would do after he beat up. Remember when he stuck the tongue out?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
For his one ACC win?
One big win. It's Jeff Cameron Show. Hour number 2 on Libations Friday. Great to be with you. Hope you're well. Got to get in some college football wagering here in a moment. By the way, we're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. Also on YouTube. Hello, YouTubers. You can email the show if you like as well. JCS at 979, ESPNRadio.com. On Twitter, it's at Jay Cameron Show. As we're wont to do on a Libations Friday, we're going to bring in our friend Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports. All guests appear via the Phone Hero hotline. Phone Hero specializing in iPhone and iPad repair. 2 locations, 2915 Cary Forest Parkway, 833 West Gain Street. Online at phoneherotlh.com. Let's do it. Lee, how are you, brother? You doing okay?
I'm ducking and weaving. Better than people in Alabama. How about every college game in the state of Alabama? Alabama, Auburn, UAB, and Troy. All 4 of their games canceled.
It's a bizarre year. It's the whole thing. I sat down at the table this morning to look at some bets potentially, and I'm going through the postponements and cancellations, and I'm seeing, of course, we already knew about Alabama, LSU, which is good news for LSU because they'd have lost by 100. Ohio State and Maryland is canceled. A&M and Tennessee, Georgia, Mizzou, Coastal Carolina, Troy, Auburn, Mississippi
I was looking forward to seeing Coastal, right?
Well, and Coastal's been good for us all year long. I mean, if you got on them early, they've been a covering machine. Rice.
How big is that game going to be next week now?
Yeah.
Against App State or the final week where they I think they're playing Liberty, undefeated Liberty.
Liberty, that'll be a great game. You're right. But, think about it. No Rice Law Tech, no Memphis Navy, no Pitt, Georgia Tech. By the way, out of curiosity, who would you have taken there? I had Pitt given the 6.5. Would you have done that?
I think I would have taken Georgia Tech.
I don't know.
Pick, that's a tough game. I definitely wouldn't have wagered that on that game or given it to my clients.
Right.
Tough game. Georgia Tech can play with a lot of teams. It's the turnovers that usually, do them in. But Pickett with Pitt, they're a different team also.
Well, when he played,
I'm hearing though there's some problems going on with that program. They might make a change there at the end of the year. If they had more money, I think they would.
Yeah, and no Air Force Wyoming, no Louisiana Monroe, Arkansas State. A lot of games that aren't played, but let's look at the ones that are, and we'll start with the Canes. This is a fascinating game. I thought it was interesting that Virginia Tech is favored in this game by 2.5. I don't know that I would have set the line there. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I was surprised. I think they're doing it maybe because Virginia Tech is hot and cold.
Yeah, they're weird.
They are either really good or really bad, and maybe they're figuring they're going to bounce back. But here's some problems I have with Virginia Tech. Their best two defensive linemen are game-time decision. Khalil Herbert, who's a really good running back, to transfer from Kansas, game-time decision with a hamstring. A hamstring with a running back is really delicate.
Yeah, not good.
I wouldn't count on it. I mean, if you're a lineman or defensive lineman, you might be able to get by playing. Hendon Hooker's going to have some success. Watch some cut-ups on some plays from the Miami linebackers. They are not good playing the spread option. So I think Hooker's going to have some success. I mean, they're running the ball all 7 games between 200 and 350 yards. Brevin Jordan might be back for Miami, but even without him against NC State last week, I mean, Derek King threw for 400 yards and ran for 100. He's a machine right now. Miami is looking for revenge. They lost 42-35 last year when they turned the ball over 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
I like Miami here in a shootout, 48-42.
Florida and Arkansas in a game that most people know Florida will win. What I find interesting is Sam Pittman is one of the very few first-year coaches at any of these schools, in their first year, that are having success during the pandemic. And he's been a guy that got that Arkansas team to play really hard. I mean, they're not good, but they play really hard, and they hang in there. It's kind of inspiring. Can they cover the 17.5 against Florida? Is it just too much talent for Florida?
I think they have a chance, and here's why. There's a variety of reasons. It's where the game, what the setup is, and Florida coming off playing Georgia, and they lost 3 straight to Georgia before this year. I think it sets up well for them. I think Florida's got to be patting themselves on the back. They know they're almost for sure going to be playing in the SEC championship game, so maybe a little look ahead. Probably thinking, we've got Felipe Franks, same old Felipe. He'll throw the ball to our DBs a couple times, but he's a different quarterback, throwing it away, living to fight another down. They also are going to probably be without Kyle Pitts. It looks like Kyle Pitts in concussion protocol will probably not play. And if you watch, when he was in, they were really good last week and this year. But without him, they're not the same. They got to go to 4 receiver sets. They got to use a running back or a different tight end, and it's just not the same. In their running game, they rank only 95th out of 123 teams. So Arkansas, I think, is going to slow down the game. They only want to get off maybe 58 to 60 plays instead of the normal, 70, 75 plays, and they slow it down. They don't flinch. I mean, they were down 13-0 last week to Tennessee. They don't bat an eye, come back, score 24 straight, win 24-13. I have Florida winning the game 38-30, but Arkansas covering.
I like the Arkansas story. It's been fun. They've been so bad for so long. It's nice to see. All right, so now we get to Florida State, where I'll give you some inside dope. It's looking bad for Jordan Travis on Saturday night, and Florida State is just they're really inept when he doesn't play because they need him and his suddenness and ability to make guys miss and really just to run basically a spread option. That's what we run when he's in there. So if he's hurt and can't play, you got to start a true freshman. I don't know, Lee. It's 7.5 originally.
It's up to 10 now.
It's up to 10. It may get even more as more and more information gets out there. You can tell the Sharps are starting to hear whispers. So this is a tough game. I don't know. You might have had Florida State covering before, but I don't know if you will now.
I'm going to still stick with it. It may not be pretty, but NC State's defense, how bad are they? They've allowed 64 first downs the last 2 weeks. NC State, I love them as an underdog. But as a favorite, they're just not a good team. I mean, Bailey Hockman played the game of his life the last couple weeks. He's looked really good. He might just get too hyped up for this game. What were the circumstances why he left Florida State?
Well, he didn't beat out DeAndre Francois. He thought he was going to have a chance to win the position, and he came in and didn't win the position, and then he just said, "I'm out." And they said, "All right, have a good one."
Okay. Yeah. So, I thought he might wait around. I mean, he's a good backup. Not a good starter.
No.
I mean, he's playing because there's starters out here, and they got some weapons. They're pretty good on offense, but I don't think they're good enough on defense to lay double digits. I'm going to say NC State wins 31-23. Florida State covers somehow.
It'd be nice to see. Florida State's been getting blown out. Bucks lay an egg on Sunday night. Look bad in every facet, both on defense and offense. I maintain it was really stupid to bring in Antonio Brown and upset the apple cart. They look like they're a team in between trying to figure out their offense right now, between Arians' offense and then what Brady wants to run. They got to get right here. They're giving 4.5 to Carolina, and Carolina plays really hard. They're well coached. Matt Rule's doing a good job. Kind of fun to watch that team. What do you think in this game?
They do, but I think this might be the game. They're right there. They're on the doorstep. Seems like every game they've got a chance to pull it out with that last drive, but can't get it done. Either run out of time or too far to go, or just can't get that one stop. But I think they've overachieved. But Tom Brady coming off a double-digit loss, 7-0 straight up and against the spread, threw 3 interceptions. He has a lot of pride. They've got 3 tough games ahead: the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Vikings. So
they better win this one.
This would normally be a look ahead if they would have won last week. Not the case. And everyone plays like teams when they get a big player. And it's the first game in. AB, everyone bet Tampa Bay last week. Told everyone New Orleans is coming. I mean, they're putting everything together. I think Tampa Bay, they might change tempo here. I think they're going to look to get on top and play with a lead here. I think they'll get it done, 35-17.
The Dolphins are one of the great stories in the NFL this year. I said a year ago they had the right man as a head coach because even though the team was actively tanking, he got those guys to play hard. And they believed in him all the way to the end. They still do, Flores, that is. And I'll tell you what, Tua looked a lot better in this last game. So, okay, what do we think about the Dolphins giving 2.5 against the Chargers, who find a way to lose every week?
Best 2-16 that
we've ever seen.
They're similar to Carolina, but theirs comes down to one play usually. There's a problem with Miami here. So they lost Preston Williams, their number 2 receiver, and a guy that Tua really was starting to develop some chemistry. Then, because of COVID, it looks like Wilkins, their best defensive lineman, in the middle is out, and they had already lost Gotcha. So they lost their 2 starters in the middle, and Wilkins was playing a bulk of the snaps. And also, Kyle Van Noy will not play. He had a couple games he played every snap. So that's the heart and soul of the front 7 on defense. Love what he's doing. They're going to get it done. They're going to be on the fringe of making the playoffs this year. Next year, when they get those 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s via Houston, they're going to be a tough out. But not this week. I like San Diego. Not San Diego. L.A. Chargers.
Yeah, that's right. I do the same thing.
31-27.
Your game of the week is less than 2 touchdowns for North Carolina against Wake Forest. Give me the idea how folks can get that game.
A big game here. Biggest game I like in college football. They want to get that game. Just be one of the first 5 callers. Call 800-400-9741. Again, the number 800-400-9741. We'll give North Carolina and Wake Forest on me. Love this game. So 800-400-9741. And promotion this week is called Crazy Eights, and it's become a hugely widely promotion that everyone loves. So I actually had a losing week last week. I went 9-9, but I missed on my 2 biggest games. So we call like it really happens, and people like to play me off of a losing week because rarely do we have 2 losing weeks in a row. We've won 8 out of 10 weeks this year. 8 games, $88. 4 in college, 4 in the NFL. It's an instant download. Get all 8 games as soon as you purchase it, so you don't have to call me back Saturday or Sunday morning. And I'm so sure I'm going to win. If I don't have a winning record, that's 5-3 or better. 4-4 is not good enough. We don't have a winning record. Get next week for free. So Crazy Eights, 8 games, $88. Right now exclusively, ParamountSports.com.
Enjoy the football this weekend, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
You too.
All right, take care. Paramount Sports, of course, and Lee Sterling joins us every Friday. I like that he owned up to it. Rough week last week. And, it's going to happen. I mean, if you dip your toes in the water, you're going to get burned sometimes. You're going to get bit. It happens. But good that he owned up there. The Bucks better find a way to bounce back this week. And Tom and I talked about it on Scuttlebucks, obviously. You can't go to 6-4 with the games that are looming. You're going to have to give yourself that cushion, and now it's just a fight to get to the playoffs because you've kind of pissed away home field. So now it's going to be a matter of can you get your offense right, and can you figure out what you're doing wrong defensively, zone, and then go from there. Look, that's just not who we are. So I'm taking chances. I don't care who the receivers are that you're facing. With the guys that we have, you got to go play a lot of press man. And when we do that, you see the Bucs play good defense. When they don't, they get carved up. And most NFL quarterbacks that are protected today, especially Hall of Fame quarterbacks, if in the pocket with a little time to throw against the zone, it's going to find somebody. It's going to happen time and again. Frustratingly so if you're on the other side of that. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
If you only got $1,000, you ought to just
Virginia Tech and Miami's got the Canes winning that one. We were both kind of raising an eyebrow about Va Tech being favored, but they're a weird hot and cold team. He's got Arkansas covering against Florida. Maybe I've gotten to him a little bit there, but he also thinks Florida's going to have a letdown. Kyle Pitt's going to miss this game. That's a big deal within their offense.
That is a big deal.
Well, yeah, he's one of the best players in the country. He's got Florida State covering against NC State. Said he doesn't even care if the Noles start Chubba Purdy. He thinks that they'll hang in and cover now that the number's double digits. He likes the Noles to be in this game in the fourth quarter. I wanted to say, have you watched us play at all recently? But
I hope he's right.
I'd like to see that.
Make her at least a decent post-game show.
Yeah, you guys have been a warrior. I was I was telling Gene on the War Chant Report earlier this week when we recorded that. Boy, you guys are going to be loving all these night games. And he laughed. He's like, oh, yeah, a lot of fun to be on till 1 o'clock in the morning documenting 30-point ass kickings.
I keep saying I'm going to open a beer for one of those shows. Tomorrow might be the one.
It's got to be the one, especially.
Might bring a six-pack with me.
Yeah, I was going to say, if this one's lopsided, that'd be 3 in a row. Time to pop the tops, baby. Or sip a scotch.
Yeah. I'll tell the people, ask questions, and I'll chug for as long as you ask the questions.
Tampa Bay's got the Bucks bouncing back like you do against Carolina. I would suggest, based on the upcoming games on the schedule, they better. Miami minus 2.5 against the Chargers. He's got the Chargers winning this game. Miami's got some injury issues he's worried about. He's going to go with the Chargers. His game of the week, for those that want to get it, at ParamountSports.com. Go to he's going to look at North Carolina and Wake Forest there. I'm kind of interested in North Carolina, but every time I look at North Carolina, they screw me. That's what they do. They screw me. They find a way. If I'm on North Carolina, they're not going to play well. Period. Ever.
Well, the Carolina game, sorry, not the Carolina, but the Miami and San Diego Chargers game, LA Chargers game, is interesting because Miami has gotten lucky and they flipped quite a few scores through defensive touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
And how long can he count on that? Joey brought that up yesterday on the DSG DFS thing in terms of his pick. So to hear Lee and Joey on that and some local knowledge from Miami saying that injuries might bang him up and put him in a position
It's an interesting game to look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the problem is this, and
it's the mystique of the Chargers, blowing leads every week.
It's the biggest problem. And here's the thing. Trends don't pay the rent. But at some point, when the head coach is the guy presiding over the fourth quarter nightmares that we watch every week, you've got to say Lynn is the problem. I don't see every Los Angeles Chargers game. I see the ending of every Los Angeles Chargers game, but I don't see every game in its entirety. Of course, I was there in person to watch them blow a huge lead against the Bucs. But when I watch that team, I see a great young quarterback, and I see talent all over the field, and I think, boy, the Chargers got a lot of talent. Now, for as long as you and I have been doing this show, I'm always high on the Chargers because they've got talent. And yet they lose more games in absurd fashion right at the end. To me, it's got to be in their collective minds. There's no way it's anything but that.
So I caught a lot of the Broncos and Chargers game. This is probably 2-3 weeks ago now.
It was a crazy game. They dominated that game.
It was quiet. It was the one that, Red Zone would go to if Hansen needs a bathroom break or something because there's just a quiet, nothing game. They're coasting. It's over. And I turned it off around, 6:45.
It was hard to lose that game.
Right. When I got to the halftime highlights of the Sunday night game that weekend, I saw that they lost. I said, this is impossible because that's different. Like the Bucs one was you screwed up inside of 2 minutes, Bucs score, kickoff, second half, Bucs score. That's the avalanche happening. Mm-hmm. This Denver one is you're in the fourth quarter.
And it's Denver.
Everybody's got their ball caps on. They're done.
Yeah, they do things. This dates back years now. Phillip Rivers teams would lose games that had no business. None.
Well, they had bad kickers forever, and that's not the problem this year.
No, they could, but they would always give up leads too. That defense must take the field in the fourth quarter and feel like the Falcons do every time they have a lead. They just, like the Falcons, most of the time you have a lead, you go, uh-oh. So the Chargers have to be that way because I watch teams with no quarterback play whatsoever come back and beat the Chargers. Teams with good quarterback play do it all the time. Teams who've had a erratic kicker make those kicks against the Chargers. Whatever penalty call that can go against them is going to. You have a catch in the end zone to end the game, to win the game. You're celebrating. It looks like it's over. We watch the super slow-mo replay. You see the ball bobble a little bit when he hits the ground. Immediately your heart sinks for them and you go, really? That's going to happen again? That's going to get overturned? It gets overturned. I mean, And meanwhile, you've got a quarterback that is breaking rookie records. People don't realize it because they lose every week, but he's really good. It's
right, and it's not garbage time. Here's a 120-yard quarter.
He's good.
I'm setting the pace with my arm.
I get us out to a
ability.
lead, but you sorry bitches blow it. Yes, it's something to behold. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but the league every week is almost impossible to feel really good about. We talk about those contests at Circa. We talk about all these survivor pools and things like that. And I'm looking at you can gauge, they'll post on their websites what the percentage of the members in a pool, what their pick was, the team. Like every week I look up, I'm like, oh, there's a loss. I mean, last week it was like 62% Steelers over Dallas. Good luck. I mean, that's a lot of people out of that pool. And they're doing the number. So it's brutal. It's a hard pool.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're in a super contest in our personal life, and you just got to pick 5 every week, and the lines are set on Wednesday. They don't even move. They sit there, and still it's hard to be over 50%. I'm at 52, and I feel fortunate.
Well, and what happens, too, is if you feel good about yourself, let's say you have a run, and you go 4-1 one week and 3-2 the next and 4-1 the next, and you feel like, okay, I got a good handle on things. Boy, that's a mistake. The second you feel really, really good, I had a run like that this year. I'm like, okay, I'm getting it together. I'm all right. Here's a little 0 for 5 for that ass. That changes things in a hurry. Yeah, I making a living betting on the NFL against the number is no way to go, friends.
All right, so I'm going to confide.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I started doing 2 weeks ago, and these FSU games being as late as they are means that my job is late. I'm going to be up late, and I'm not going to bed for a little while. So I'm also going to unwind. It's impossible. You know it.
Yeah.
For 20 years doing a show, it takes time to unwind.
Without question.
Right. Your Wednesday at 9 o'clock shows, I don't know how you get to bed before midnight.
I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, so I'll be up late.
Yeah.
And I decide, beleaguered as I am, and maybe after a couple of pops watching the highlights or Pac-12 After Dark last week, I put a list together. I'm enjoying my Saturday, and I put a list together for the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And then I make my picks on Sunday, and I say, which guy is more correct? The exhausted, beleaguered dude who has just got done working, or the one who wakes up and looks at the numbers? You know who's winning right now? Beleaguered guy by 3 games in the standings. Yeah.
That's funny that you've done that.
I'm doing the comparison now.
I was going along just fine and took a dive off the cliff about 2 weeks ago. I'm 20-25 on the season, 5 games under 500, clipping in at 44%. Everybody, there you go. Gonna have to find a way to get things turned around. I see you there at 23-21-1. Okay, well,
that's 50. After a 1-4 week, man. Brought me down to earth. That's because I went with rested guys' picks last week for a 1-4.
Well, I also noticed that a lot of people are coming back down to earth. I mean, you still have somebody in our pool picking at 66% currently.
Yeah.
But
that joker was at 82 about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. You can't. Well, I mean, last year I'm still mad at Joey. I mean, I 61% and I lose.
Y'all are coming back to earth this year, though.
Well, what the hell? What the hell, man? That is wrong.
NFL's easier to pick this year than college, though. That's the hard part for me. I mean, as you're getting more games in sequence in the ACC, the SEC starting to catch up, the Big 12 and the Big 10, maybe it gets easier. But typically, to me, college is night and day. Like, I won't even touch the NFL. If I have a card for the weekend, it's 80-20 college to NFL.
You're correct.
Now it's like 60-40 college to NFL.
Well,
and I'm still losing my shirt in college.
We had a lot of discussion about this yesterday. It's part of the larger point. I mean, if you just look at the slate in college football, I did this with Lee a moment ago. You've got so many games canceled, so many teams that are affected by COVID. Practice schedules are a mess. And when you're actually practicing, you're not practicing the way you would if you weren't fearful that you're going to lose somebody because your depth chart's been so effective. So they're not really hitting. Defensive coaches have talked about we can't really do what we would normally do to get ready to play football games because we just can't afford to have guys go down. And so they're not. But, look, Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, Maryland, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Georgia, Missouri, Coastal Carolina, who's been fun to watch all year long, canceled now against Troy, Auburn, Mississippi State, Rice, Louisiana Tech, Memphis, Navy, Pitt, Georgia Tech was a game on my card. Now it's off my card. No game to be played there. Air Force, Wyoming, Cal, Arizona State, Louisiana Monroe, Arkansas State. These are all canceled or postponed games, and there's still worry about a couple of others. It's just hard to get a feel what anybody is. I mean, a lot of times you look up and you'll go, okay, well, they're 4-1. Oh, they're 1-0. That other team's only played one game. How do you know?
Well, and the owners of the NFL aren't dumb. The commissioner might be, but the owners aren't. And that they've already put in a provision for an expanded playoff if they have to have massive cancellations tells you that while the NFL has been surprisingly linear, the season's been pretty linear, it's about to change. I mean, every facility, every week, what do you think this the week was? 10 to 15 facilities that were shut down for at least a day?
At least a day,
And it's only going to get worse. I mean, think about if you're in the NFC North or the AFC North right now, in the footprint of those places. Good luck. So that's going to make picking those games all the harder.
We talk about big picture stuff all the time, and I didn't mention this, but did you see the story out of Tennessee? And they've got real upheaval in that program right now. This is not working out for Pruitt. And they're losing games every week, and they can't throw a forward pass. And 8 of their football assistant coaches declined proposed pay cuts. And the athletic department, you want to talk about getting hung out to dry. Now, that has to be released. Somebody wanted the press to see that. If you think that's the first thing I thought of when I read that story. There's no way you go public with that as an athletic department unless you're pissed. They're losing $40 million this year so far. Ooh. $40 million. So why do I bring that up? Well, we're just talking about how bizarre it is. Tennessee had asked football assistant coaches to take pay cuts back in October. Apparently, this was sort of in the works and being argued about within the athletic department.
I was going to say, they waited till October to ask for this?
Well,
that's crazy.
They asked for employees making more than $50,000 a year. Okay, so obviously coaches are making much more than that. They were going to have to take a pay cut starting in November, and it was going to go through June, and then they would be back to normal. But they were football coaches, when you can go to hell, I'm not taking any kind of pay cut. So 8 of the football assistants said, nope, not taking a pay cut. That's the only reason this story had to have gone public. Like you would. Yeah. So, misery loves company. We talk about Florida State being broke all the time. Folks, I assure you we are. There are a lot of schools going broke right now. A lot of schools who are in desperate shape. Clemson just got done cutting the track teams.
It's going to level the playing field for the football program.
Well, I don't
bring everybody else down to earth where we live.
I just think we got to closely monitor what's going to happen over there. That's interesting. Clemson cutting their track and field. That's a big deal, man. That's not, diving.
With IPTAY.
I know. So think about that.
They got that IPTAY money that we don't.
And Tennessee's not broke. They're in the SEC. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going to happen. This is going to be fast.
Embrace every event you can go to, be it tennis,
I think that's
baseball,
right.
softball, football, you name it.
Well, I think tennis you must embrace because I'm telling you now, if you're looking at programs that you would worry about in the future.
Well, this is why last week, now this isn't an expensive sport to play, so it should be okay. But I mean this with all due respect, had a wonderful time this time last week playing at Southwood for the FSU beach volleyball team fundraiser.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
It's not a 501c3. It may as well be these days. It may as well be.
Right.
They need, all of these programs need every earmarked dollar that you can give them. If it's not season ticket renewal, and that's the way that you spend with Florida State, then help the beach volleyball team, then help the softball team or soccer or baseball or whoever.
I propose, Tom, that we be asked to play in golf tournaments every week for every one of those programs. And listen,
they made sure everybody had a good time too. That was a good job of evoking some donations. Good job.
Well, let me just tell you that we would do our part here on the Jeff Cameron Show. If you want to allow Tom and I to play every week in your golf tournament, we'll certainly promote it for you. We just ask for a free team and free booze, and we'll be good to go.
That's how they had people. They had pouring stations right out by the practice green. They're like, "All right, what does anybody need?" They're pointing at people. What you need? What you need?
Of course,
well
they did.
done.
That's
Well
what
done.
you do. It's Jeff Cameron Show 97.9 ESPN Radio. Well, I don't know what to do officially anymore with the Titans. Did you watch that last night? The block punt changed the game, of course, for good. But the Colts defense is for real, and they got enough out of Phillip last night. I'm like, I don't know.
It's the Thursday night football gods. It's hard to put 100% weight into one of those games as though it's normal.
Colts had to have that one because it evens it up at 6-3 for both teams. But now you've got a race in the division again, so that's interesting at least. But I'm watching that game last night, and the Colts were just better in a lot of ways. They were just a better team. And, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to watch the way they come up and stop the run, even against Derrick Henry. That's the big thing, is there are very few teams that have had enough players on that side of the ball to stick their head in there and make those kinds of tackles. The Steelers did to an extent. But, Xavier Rhodes did last night, ran in there and made a big play behind the line of scrimmage.
He's had a lot of big plays this year for them. He's
had a bounce back, yeah. He's had a bounce back year.
But that's one of those teams that, like, they'll make the playoffs, but you don't feel like they have any chance at all to win the Super Bowl. That's what the Colts are.
Yeah, I wouldn't even give them a chance to win a game, but yet I'd be wrong for doing that because they do play defense. Also, they need to stop messing around and just start Naheem Hines. He's the better running back over Taylor. I know I got him on my fantasy team.
I figured you did.
No, but they do. Every time I watch them play, I'm like, well, he's a lot more explosive. He's a better player. I don't know why they continue. I know what they drafted Taylor. I got it. And I'm not saying he won't be good, but he doesn't score and he doesn't make a lot of plays, and Hines does every week. And they're playing him more. I mean, they gave him 12 carries last night for 70-plus yards. And
yeah, he's shifty.
He's starting.
Little bowling ball of shift.
He's got a little something to him, man.
Yeah.
He's got a little something to him. I kind of he's emerged, and every time I watch him, I think you're better. You're better than that guy. But I know they invested in that guy. That's the hard part. It's got to be frustrating to be one of those guys. I know you see it all the time in minor league baseball, and I've told you the stories that Mike Martin Jr. has told me about. When you're the chosen one, when you've been picked in one of the early rounds, you could be 0 for your last 37, and meanwhile, you could be a guy that they, took a flyer on late in the draft. You could be hitting 357. You're not starting on Friday.
That's right. The goal of the game is not necessarily to win when you're in the minor leagues, and now they're getting contracted by leaps and bounds, unfortunately.
I don't even like to think about that. I continue to kind of gloss over that fact, but you're right, they are. I do wonder now as we get to the second half of the season, is there a team that has not played well that you think is going to be a fly in the ointment? I think the answer to that question, because I've got mine, is Minnesota.
I think the Falcons are going to be that team.
Do you really? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're
bought in.
They're inspired to play for Raheem Morris. And by all accounts, people who knew him before and after his stint with Tampa and obviously all the way up to Atlanta.
He had to have learned a lot.
They say he's a different dude. Yeah, he's different. He learned because he tried to be arm around the shoulder because he was 32. He's a peer of Rondé Barber and others at the time.
He was so young.
He's a literal peer of theirs, and he's learned how to manage things. And the guys loved him before he was elevated. He was a receivers coach for them for a little bit, I do believe. Then they flipped him back to the defensive side of the ball. And they loved his game plans. Like, they will go to war for that guy. So week 15, 16, 17, the Bucs have a game against the Falcons in one of those 3 weeks. Yeah, you could see the Falcons play the role of spoiler, but I like the Vikings pick as well.
Well, they've got the most productive running back in the league, not named Derrick Henry. Dalvin Cook, healthy, is explosive, and they use him in the passing game really well now too. And, they seem to be they're grounded a little bit more now.
Here's also a number. I'll see if I can dig it up fast, but I saw this last night. It was NFL running backs against 8 or more.
In the box?
In the box. That's correct. And Dalvin Cook is number 1 by a long shot. Now, this is before last night's game, but Henry, didn't go crazy. But Cook has 527 yards this season against 8+ man fronts to Derrick Henry's entering last night 336. That's a decided advantage for a dude who missed a game.
Yeah. I am I'm trying to find Yeah, you know, one of the things you can look at as you go moving forward, and schedule plays a big part of this, but if you go look at DVOA on Football Outsiders and kind of try to get a feel for what teams really are and not just their record, because that schedule, you know, the Texans had by far through 6 or 7 games, I think, the hardest schedule, and really in the last 4 years. It was unbelievable. And the thought was, well, they'll emerge if they're not broken. You know, they'll, because they're better than their record, they're better than their stats because of all the good teams that they face. I do think that's true, but they may be broken. So I can't tell. Like, this game against Cleveland will go a long way because they could beat Cleveland.
Anybody can beat Cleveland.
Cleveland's 5-3.
Yeah.
And they're favored to win that game. But I get an uneasy feeling about it. You know, the Texans win that game, all of a sudden, okay, their game, they'll cause problems in the second half of the season.
So I looked up Atlanta's schedule for the remainder of the season. Any win they score between now and the end of the season will be perceived as a spoiler win, unless they just go on this crazy winning streak. But they play after the bye week. They're not playing on Sunday. They play at the Saints. Then they play the Raiders, the Saints again, at the Chargers, so that's their 1-0 game. Bucks, Chiefs, Bucks. I mean, that is a murderer's row of a schedule for Atlanta, but if they win 3 of those, they're considered the fly in the ointment team just because they have more chances at it.
The Raiders game, you said you think it would be an upset?
Yeah, the Raiders are in contention for a playoff spot.
But do you believe in the Raiders?
I think that they are. I mean, if you're going to have 7 teams out of each conference, then yeah, I believe in them as a playoff team. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess as a 7th team. They just don't strike me as a very good football team.
They block it up all right. Carr looks better this year.
He definitely looks better this year.
I mean, they can run. They've got some balance to their offense. They've got some balance. They had injuries at receiver, or else they probably have more established balance by now.
Of the potential playoff teams that we don't believe in, the Raiders fall in that category for me, along with the aforementioned Colts. I love Nyheim Hines, like I said. Michael Pittman Jr. is starting to emerge, too. Mm-hmm. So, okay, I mean, I like those guys. I'm not in love.
Cleveland is obviously on that list as well.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. They don't. They do a lot of things poorly. It's hard to believe in Cleveland.
So if you're looking at the playoffs right now, you have the Raiders at 7, the Browns at 8, and the Dolphins at 9. So those are the teams that are going to be in the race for that final spot.
God, I'm rooting for the Dolphins to get in.
If Tennessee slips up a couple more times, then they're going to be in that group. They're at 6-3 right now.
Yeah.
The Raiders, the Browns, the Dolphins
at
at 5-3.
Yeah.
And even the Ravens at 6-2, they could be in trouble.
They're good enough. They're not a dominant team. Their running game is not what it was a year ago. Obviously, teams adjust, but they're still good enough. I think it was a good sign. Yeah. It was a good sign last week that my man went 10 for 10.
So here's their schedule remaining. They have the Patriots, which that might be a Belichick special. We'll see. But they play the Patriots on Sunday. Then it's the Titans and Steelers. All right, so it's a tough little stretch, but then you're rewarded. Cowboys, Browns, Jags, Giants, Bengals. They're fine.
They are fine, and the Titans game will be interesting because the Titans will give it up on the run, and Baltimore wants to run. So, okay, let's see what that becomes. I like Baltimore to make the playoffs rather easily, given that back end of that schedule that you just said. I think they get in easily. And then, we're not even mentioning the Bills at 7-2. They're going to cruise.
Probably, but here's the Dolphins' remaining schedule. Just saying. I know their defense, they're a little bit of paper tigers because they're turning turnovers into points directly. But here's the remaining schedule. The Chargers, interesting game that we've talked about a bunch this week. Mm-hmm. Broncos, Jets, Bengals.
A lot of wins out there.
Chiefs.
Oh, no.
Patriots, Raiders, Bills. That's doable. That's a doable 10-6, 11-5.
Say it again. One more time.
Okay, Chargers.
Are we doing Dolphins, W's, and L's? Is that what we're doing right here? Dolphins, W's, and L's for the remainder of the season.
I was already on the page.
All right, here we go. Let's go. W's, wins.
All right. How you doing?
Losses.
Damn it! We lost! We f***ing super lost, man!
Where do we triumph? Where doth thou fall? All right, W's and L's Dolphins remaining schedule. Tom and I have morphed into somebody that roots for the Dolphins. So here you go, Dolphins fans. Let's get you into the playoffs if we can. I'm purposely not looking it up. You tell me, what do we got? We got this game this weekend. Big game for the Dolphins, taking on the Chargers. Long flight for the Chargers, who find a way to lose every week. Where is their head at? It's important to know if they're going to go ahead and sleepwalk. We got another win for the Dolphins right there. If they show up and care to play, Dolphins banged up a little bit. Got some guys missing from the defensive line. Could be a problem. You missed your best receiver.
So what's your pick?
W by a last-second field goal.
All right. So that puts them at 6-3. The Dolphins would be 6-3
and winners of 5 straight.
Going to Mile High next weekend.
Easy victory there. The Dolphins buoyed by their big win at home. That's 6 straight victory for the Fish.
That would put them at 7-3.
Coasting into the playoffs.
Going up to Jersey to play the Jets.
Oh. lopsided affair there. Easy win for the Dolphins.
That would be 8-3
And
Miami Dolphins.
7 wins in a row.
Turn around, finally, they get to host a game against Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
9-3.
Oh,
Look at
my
the Dolphins
God.
fighting for home field.
Chiefs lost.
Lost 9-4. Not close.
They're hosting the Patriots.
Win 10-4.
Okay, they're at the Raiders out in Vegas.
Lost 10-5.
Oh, okay. All
Tough,
right.
tough game. Raiders are fighting to get into the playoffs.
All right, then a Week 17 showdown.
With
The Bills in Buffalo.
loss.
Weather.
Loss 10-6.
So they're going to backdoor into 10-6.
10-6. Gonna be good enough. They're going to the playoffs, baby. It starts this Sunday. Playoff push. The playoff push starts this Sunday for the Miami Dolphins.
It's Joe Dolphins fan.
I'm gonna do it. I'll wear the Dolphins cap that we have here in this. We have a Dolphins cap here in the office.
Your dad took it.
Oh, did he?
I gifted it to him. Yeah.
I think we got 2 of them though. Is it?
Oh, we might have another? Okay.
Did I give the other one to Ira?
You may have.
I can't remember. He doesn't like the Dolphins. That's right. He's a Colts fan. I think
So your dad was like, "Oh, amazing."
My dad acts like you can't find Dolphins hats. It cracked me up. I remember now. We're sitting there having a Guinness, and you're like, "Here, you want this Dolphins hat?" Oh, look that. First of all, that is nice of you. Secondly, it's not that nice of a Dolphins hat. Third, you can find them anywhere, Pops. Go online. Search Dolphins caps. You'll find New Era, Nike, Reebok. You'll find them all.
Way to undercut the gesture. Thank you. All right.
I praised the gesture. I just don't
Yeah,
know.
but it wasn't that nice.
You didn't buy it.
You only gave him a Taurus.
You gifted a gifted hat to us, and you're going to try to make me feel bad? You didn't go purchase that
It's the
cap.
thought that counts.
I've yet to see the Dolphins cap that I would want to wear. I can't find one that I like.
Because you don't want to wear one.
Well, I don't. Deep down, I don't. I haven't taken that big leap yet. But there's got. You know what I want? I'll tell you what I want. And I'm not saying this so that a listener will send it. Oh, I'm not doing that at all.
Don't.
Well,
Don't do it.
Hey, let people do what they're going to do.
You can
Tom.
stop by the Tallahassee game day tomorrow. Throw him hat money. Just put hashtag hat money when you get the Ric Flair sounder, and we'll get you then.
Let me tell you the hat I want. I want a fitted. So I'm getting very specific. I want a fitted,
3930 low crown.
fitted, all white with the aqua lining on the brim and just the dolphin himself. I don't even want it to say Dolphins, just the dolphin.
So the lining on the brim. You mean like
that aqua
over the corner or just the brim itself?
Well, if I were designing the cap, it would have the aqua on the brim. But you can only pick what they have out there. I don't even know.
Just on the brim. It doesn't intrude on the top of the.
Right, because the dolphin itself, doesn't he have the outline? Doesn't he have the outline in blue? Doesn't he have that aqua? I think he does.
It could be. It depends on which one you're looking at. You know, the old school merino or the current one that's a little bit more.
Well, and I don't like I don't like the current logo. I want the old school one with the yeah. So it's got the orange with the M on it, the old one. Mm-hmm. The really old one.
The helmet. He's wearing the helmet.
Yeah. He's wearing the helmet. Right. I like that.
I don't think the new one wears a helmet.
No, the new one does not. And the new one's jet streamed with more aqua. The old one has like that dull aqua. Mm-hmm. But I like the dull aqua on the white hat with the orange sun behind it for the state of Florida with the M on the hat. I mean, on the helmet. That's the one I want. Find me that hat, and I will celebrate.
Or stop by Tallahassee game day tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll get you a Ric Flair woo for some hat money. Yeah.
I don't like the new one. I'm looking at the new one right now.
Looks like a Nerf football or a popsicle.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like a dolphin. It's like this. It's like the Patriots thing. It's not even a. What is that?
If you flash that logo at me real quick, I'd say like that's an ice cream logo or something.
Yeah, I don't like it. I want the old school one.
Well, can we talk about, have we ever talked about this, how the Texans just straight up like copycatted off the Patriots? Look at the two logos. Like, does the Houston owner want to be the New England Patriots owner? What's going on there?
Well, I'm going to pull this up now.
It's got the blue and the red, a little swirly design, and then they had the one star, the singular star. What is that? It's like an homage to the Patriots.
All right. But it's got the...
Put the Patriots at one star. Even the star almost looks like it's at the same angle.
Yeah, I see where you're going there. They're kind of going abstract steer. Yeah, they're
is that 19th century abstract steer?
They're going abstract steer is what they're doing there. They're like, here's a little abstract steer for that ass. You know what they should do, but that would be stealing off the Cowboys. They should just have the blue helmet with the white star, but you can't do that because the Cowboys, who don't have a white helmet, I know, but have the star, you can't try to copy off the star, so you're kind of screwed.
But I mean, it would be like the Bucks putting a pirate with a helmet and an eye patch on above the crossing swords and the football and a red flag, and they're like, we're not the Raiders.
We're not stealing this.
What?
Yeah, Vanilla Ice. I didn't steal Queen and David Bowie.
Dun, dun, dun,
Mine
dun,
goes
dun, dun.
duh, 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 duh. more of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least 4 this week. Happy Libations Friday. Cozy on up. Join us, won't you, as we ease out of the week into a relaxing moment of football viewing tonight. Catching up on the Masters, brought to you by our friends at Killearn Country Club. You know, the weekend. Although tomorrow morning, by the way, another reminder, 10 a.m., we will be here bright and early for you previewing Florida State, NC State. That's a night game, doesn't matter. We're here 10 a.m. with Tallahassee Game Day.
And who knows, there may be a Masters update or two brought to you by Killearn during the pregame show.
I think that's true, too.
For all of our sanity.
Yeah.
All of our sanity.
I think that's true. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free always. I'm happy I remembered to wear my Masters shirt. You guys are seeing how dapper and good I look on YouTube right now. And thank you. I know you guys are at home complimenting. It's true. It is. It does. I wear it well. This shirt was about $90. Because, of course, it was. That's how they say, hey, welcome to the Masters. That sandwich was $2. That beer was $1. This shirt is $90. We're going to get our money. They're right there next to each other, by the way, when you walk in.
So the beers really are that cheap?
Yeah,
Augusta.
yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, as an aside, by the way, hello, YouTubers. Hello, all of you who are hopping in the car. Happy that the weekend has begun for you. Kudos, Phone Hero Hotline, all that good stuff. I brought it up last hour. I brought it up at the start of the show. I bring it up here again. All guests appear via the Phone Hero Hotline. Phone Hero specializing in iPhone, iPad repair. 2 locations, 2915 Cary Forest Parkway, 833 West Gaines Street, online, phoneherotlh.com. When you go in, okay, so a couple things. You guys have probably been watching, as we have, for much of the day, just trying to get it all in while you're working, doing all that stuff. Because once we start the show, I barely look at it because it's distracting, frankly, and it makes me want to watch more. And so I don't do as much watching in show. I do have it up, off to the side. I have not clicked on the little X to exit out just yet. But I'm reminded, I was telling my brother this morning. He lives in New Hampshire, and it's cold, and he was looking at Augusta, and he's like, look at that. Looks beautiful. And we were kind of talking back and forth, and I said, well, I can tell you that I've been very fortunate in my life in the career that I've had, either because I'm in this career to have access to things like national championship games and behind the scenes, you and I going into the locker room after winning the 2013 national championship ranks up there amongst the greatest of highs for me in this career. But also, you and I getting the opportunity to cover the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, with the Lightning and going there to watch us play Chicago. You and I going back through the press area together. How amazing that was, right, as we made our way to our seats. And there are a lot of things that fall in between. The draft at Jameis's house, or Dr. Hodby's house, with Jameis getting drafted number 1. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever replicate that. Probably not. It's likely that's the only time that'll ever happen in our lifetime. And how many people can ever say that they were on the grounds of a place where somebody who was drafted number 1?
Yeah, well, because you will if you go to where the draft is held in the future.
Yes, but
this
not
is a one-of-a-kind.
Yeah, really unique situation. Yeah. But I say all of that to say this. It certainly isn't to brag, but I have never felt more, humble brag. I've never felt more fortunate than when Trey, and I didn't do anything to earn this, but Trey Jones invited me because we're friends and we work together on SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio, another humble brag. And he had a player from FSU, and Harry was playing in the Masters. He said, you want to come up? Come on, let's go. Let's walk the practice round with him. Let's do all that stuff. And it was incredible. I think about it all the time, even still. But obviously, when the Masters comes back around each year, for the rest of my life, I'm going to think about it and remember where I stood when this player hit and all that. But I had heard from virtually everybody, and you remember my great frustration where how many times I was supposed to have gone to the Masters. I mean, hell, I had a badge and a guy died, and I didn't get to go. It was that bad. Well, yeah, I mean, because screw him, right? So this time I get to go, and everybody under the sun, you won't believe it. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. TV cannot do it justice. You've heard all those phrases. People tell you that. To see it, you'll just be gobsmacked. You can't fathom how anybody can construct a property like that and put together the landscaping like that. So I parked And the parking lot, if you will, for Augusta, there are several, but it's just a big grass field. It's like out there. There's nothing to it. Okay?
Yeah, it's like parking at Clemson.
Yeah. Correct. And then you can walk up, or they have shuttles, depending. But Trey and I took a picture next to the car. I still have that picture, and then we walked our way up there. It was really cool. And he was excited because he had been there before, and I'd never been there, and he was excited for me to see it. He was like, "Oh, it's pretty cool. You're going to like it." And so I go walking in there, and where you go
this is the most envious segment in history because it just keeps on going. Everybody's like, it's probably amazing. The one person who's like, "Yep," is Millar. He's like,
I go every year. Yeah.
Don't I know it?
Yeah.
Never gets old.
No. So you go walking through, when you get to the gate, and I'm getting more and more excited like I was a kid going to a game for the first time, a professional game of some sort. And you go through the gate, and you don't know what to expect because you're kind of peering around the people in front of you, and you're like, what hole do I see right away? What's before me? You know, how quickly do I get to see the course, you know? When you go through where we went in, the very first thing you see pretty much are the concessions, like just this, and it's so masterfully run. You know how every time you go to Disney World, you take time to go, boy, they know what the hell they're doing here. Yeah. I mean, you really do.
That's why I can believe that this place is beyond belief, because some of the property stuff that they do there, especially when they have like the Flower Garden Festival at Epcot, you're like,
what in the world? Yeah.
That's not fake. That's real.
That's real.
Like, who does that?
Right. And that's the closest thing I can compare it to, Tom, is like the efficiency, the well-thought-out way that they get patrons in and out of a Disney World or an Epcot or whatever, right?
Yeah, I could tell you the thing that blew my mind when I was little was because Epcot used to be Innoventions and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Remember, they had those lawns, the sprawling lawns, and they had the robots that were trimming it. And you're like, that can't be real.
What's going on?
No, that's real. It actually trims the grass.
That's right. That's right. So when you go walking in, you see the concessions, and it's just so efficient. I mean, they somehow get people with these pimento cheese sandwiches and their beers in and out in seconds. It's crazy. I mean, it's a winding line, but the line takes no time at all. You just get in, you're like, okay, well, it's going to be a while. Oh, I've got my sandwich and my beer. It's crazy. So anyhow,
they don't do the card reader thing, or is it? Is cash only old school, or is it?
No, I don't remember how I paid. I really don't remember. I can't say.
That's Terrence Mann.
I don't remember how I paid.
The movie character.
Yeah.
It's just $20. They'll part with it and not even
know.
They
don't even know. I didn't even know. I don't know how I paid. But so you get through there, and then on the other side, the left side, is the big, where you go in and you buy the gift store, basically. And it's massive. And there's two separate, I mean, it's a massive place in and of itself, like a clubhouse, like a Sawgrass, that big, just for shirts and gear and all that. And Trey's like, well, we're not going in there right now. You didn't come in here to walk in there. We'll get there before we leave, but let's go see the course. Okay. So we go out there, and it just opens up, Tom. It's like you go through this little bottleneck, and then it's right in front of you, and you go, oh, my God. But the first thing that happens, the first thing I noted, besides how green it is how steep the elevation shifts are. If you and I ever do get to play, and I'm holding out hope we will, we know enough people between the two of us.
Yeah, that's all of the favors.
Hang in there. If we ever do get to play, I can assure you we're going to be exhausted.
That's why I always cover FSU baseball with the utmost optimism.
Me too. You'll be exhausted. I know we're going to be exhausted. Mm-hmm. It's unreal, the hike for these guys. Like some of these fat ass golfers, I think, how do you do it? I mean, there's some guys out there like Shane Lowry. I'm like, how?
They don't allow carts out there when guests play, right? Everybody walks.
No, I think you
play?
walk it. I think you walk it.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think
fine.
there's any carts. Yeah. No, I'd be fine walking.
Is it like
they have a caddy?
Is it more hilly than Heileman?
Yes, way more hilly than Heileman. There's some holes where you're like, this. I'm walking up a mountain. What are we doing here? Okay. Oh, it is unreal, the undulation.
So it's kind of like, but that one stretch where you go, the par 5 bends around and then it goes down the hill. That's pretty steep. So it's
Very
like that
steep.
all over the place?
All over the place. And steeper in some places. The valley goes way down and goes back up and around. But it is stunning.
Like number 6 at Killearn, that drop down and to the left? It's like that a lot?
Yeah, but that's not a massive drop down at Killearn. That's
a pretty good size.
It's a decent drop down, but it's not. No, these are much steeper.
Okay.
The point is, though, one of the things that happens is you notice that. It's the first thing that happens. You're like, oh, my God, some hills out here. And then number two, you want to go hole to hole because you've heard about them all. You've seen the diagrams. You've watched them on television all the years. So you're going to go and you're going to do that. And you catch certain things about each hole that you never can see on TV. But you frequently find yourself just stopping in between walks to look around, to just see the majesty of it all. You can't believe it. It looks like people to manicure the grass. I'm not even talking about the grass on the greens, which we know to be immaculate. I'm talking about between holes and where you go. There's nothing out of place. Nothing. Everything looks like scissors were brought in to make sure to keep things tidy. It's that kind of crazy. Anyhow, I've prattled on enough about my incredible experience at the Masters, and that experience included standing in a cabin talking to the greatest golfer to ever play.
Well, there's cheap beers, though, right?
Cheap beers, indeed.
Yeah.
Very cheap beers.
$1.25 a beer.
$2, I think it is.
Beautiful.
Pimento cheese sandwiches. You don't care about that.
I'd eat
well,
before.
they have other sandwiches.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, it's not just those. I got the pimento cheese.
Do they have smoked brisket?
They don't have any
Y'all got some smoked brisket sandwiches?
They don't. I'm sure a lot of the people who go through that line are hoping that they do, but they do not. departed this plane, if you will, this week. Paul Hornung died. We remember Paul Hornung. Notre Dame, nope, don't remember that. Saw the highlights. Green Bay Packers, don't remember it. Wasn't alive. Certainly watched all the highlights. He has died at the age of 84. That was announced earlier today. I didn't get a chance to mention earlier this week that Tommy Heinsohn, former Celtic great in many ways, people look at him as Mr. Celtic. In fact, Bob Ryan called him Mr. Celtic. Tommy Heinsohn, in my youth, had a huge impact on me. That sounds strange. But as a little kid, there's no team in the state of Florida. I rooted for the Celtics. I've told the story many times. DJ was my favorite player of all time, Dennis Johnson. He, too, has passed away, unfortunately. But I love DJ. And I loved ML Carr. And, of course, I loved Larry Bird. But that said, Tommy Heinsohn, you'd hear every weekend. He was, and this is funny when you think about it, because he did the color analysis for the game of the week. And you'd sit down to watch the NBA, and back in the 80s, if you were watching the NBA on a Sunday, you were watching the Lakers, you were watching the Celtics, you might be watching the Sixers and the Pistons, Portland here and there, a lot of Celtics games. And I always thought they would never do that now. Like, Tommy Heinsohn would not be allowed to be the color analyst for the game of the week if it was the Celtics, because he's a former head coach of the Boston Celtics. He was also the Rookie of the Year for the Boston Celtics. Nobody loved the Boston Celtics more than Tommy Heinsohn. And in the broadcast, you would hear a guy would miss a shot. He'd be like, that's a terrible shot selection. Why do the Celtics do that? He's hilarious. And, of course, legendarily on this show, the clip for years that we would play is, they're going to call it a hard foul. That's him. And Tommy Heinsohn was a character of the game. He was a center at Holy Cross. He gets to the NBA the same year Russell does. He's in the same class, and he wins the Rookie of the Year. Tommy Heinsohn does. He ended up having bad knees. He only played till he was 30, Tom.
Right. Yeah, championships every year.
Yeah, he was amazing. But one of the things I liked as a kid that I learned from him was when I would watch these games, nobody was a bigger proponent of running than Tommy Heinsohn. He wanted the Celtics to get out and go, and he wanted all basketball to be about getting out and going. So as the 80s kind of ushered in this style of basketball where they did run, and Magic Johnson really gets a ton of credit, obviously, in L.A. for that, where you have 6'9" point guards. You'd never seen this before, but really getting out and running with vision. He loved basketball that was played quickly, basketball that pushed tempo, basketball that highlighted athleticism. And he would always talk about the great athletes of the NBA. And you'd see a team playing half court, and he'd be like, what are we doing? Let's go. It's funny that way. And I always just loved, nobody had as much personality early on as a little kid. When I listened to that, I remember thinking, and I kind of always wanted to be an announcer, or I wanted to be a professional athlete, but if I couldn't do that, I wanted to talk about it, and I got lucky to fall into this. But the point would be, I always thought he, in retrospect, probably had more of an influence on me, and I'm a nobody. I'm just saying that when you think back on the people that you love in a field sort of like you're in, which is analyzing and talking about sports, he probably had the biggest influence because he was the first guy I ever heard on a national broadcast unafraid to give an opinion. Wasn't worried about offending the players that he was talking about. Wasn't worried about offending the audience. He was going to tell you the way he saw that, and you might disagree with him, but he was going to give it to you straight. And I love that about him. So rest in peace, Tommy Heinsohn. Now, there have been others. I'm not saying there weren't others, obviously, along the way. Hell, Billy Packer did it. But
Jim Rome.
But these guys that would sit down and it's one of the reasons we still miss why we miss Johnny Miller. I wish we could listen to Johnny Miller right now. I love listening to that guy break down a golf swing or talk about a temperament or a mentality or.
If he still had a desire, I'd try and start up something where you could watch. He'd be on a YouTube channel. Right?
Yeah, if he still wanted to do it.
And then he could watch it, and he'd watch along, and, you could just patch into Johnny Miller's thoughts. This guy sucks, so let's cut it over to the next hole.
It would have been really cool, and it would be cool, and he could make some money off of it, but I don't get the sense he needs money or has the desire to do that.
He doesn't have the desire.
No, he doesn't have the desire to do that. It's funny, when we went to Boston when I was a little kid, and we went to the Garden, and I got to see Boston Garden before they left it. And the original Boston Garden is a rickety old place and beat to hell and no air conditioning, and it was garbage. And I remember going into the Boston Garden and hoping like hell that I'd run into Tommy Heinsohn. And I didn't, but it would the story would be better if I had, but I did not. But I remember that. Now think about all the famous Celtics players in the history of the game and the legends that they've had. And as a kid, I'm like, I hope I run into Tommy Heinsohn. That's funny. He was funny. He was a funny dude. He's dead at 86, I think it was. And Paul Hornung, who, if you watched NFL films and you watch the highlights and you think about the Lombardi highlights and all the old Green Bay Packer teams, they interviewed Paul Hornung left and right, and he talked about who Lombardi was as a man and all that stuff. But I also like Paul because Paul got caught up in a little gambling situation later on in his life. It was long before it was accepted the way it is now. He was a sporting guy.
Oh, good. He would have been a good guest on this show in his earlier years.
Oh, he would have been. And then he was he carried the torch for Notre Dame. Loved Notre Dame in an uncomfortable way,
like a Regis Philbin kind of way.
He did. He loved and hell, he worked for Notre Dame for a time and all that stuff. But yeah, Paul was fond of the spirits, Tom, and he also enjoyed sporting Saturdays and Sundays. So Paul would have been our guy.
Boy, that's like a mascot leaving us.
That guy, look, that's pretty funny. We should have that. Whenever we give our Paul wagers, and there's just a picture of Paul saluting.
I like it. It's fitting.
There are a lot of guys out there like that, yes. Just thought I'd mention Dolphin of the Cap to those two gentlemen who left us this week. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Libations Friday, Loosey Goosey edition, along with Masters updates and the like. We've got a lot of football to get to. That music means it's time to welcome in my mom. We'll do that now. She won both games last week, narrowly, but she did win both games. And now this seesaw affair continues. It's Mom up by 1 game at this juncture of the season, if you will. Cue it up. Let's bring her in.
And now for another edition of the Family Pick. Nick.
Go to your room! Ma, the meatloaf!
Take it away, Jeffrey.
Well, the Chargers do what they do, Mama. Down there at the 1-yard line at the end of the game, they steal a defeat from the jaws of victory, and that gave you the sweep. So you're up 1. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I know it. And as I told you, I didn't even know who had won that game because that wasn't a game that we saw. And then the day went on, and then I suddenly realized, I was like, I don't even know who won that Raiders game. And then when I looked it up, I didn't exactly know what happened at the very end. I just knew that Las Vegas had won in the very end, and I was like, oh, my goodness.
Well, we both had the Titans last night. They fall, and now that division is locked up at 6-3 for both them and the Colts, but we both lost that game. So we move on to the games that begin on Sunday, and we start with a thriller. The Eagles at the Giants.
I know. I'm picking the Eagles.
I'll take the Eagles, too. It's a coin flip to me, but I will. Jags at Packers.
I know. It is kind of a coin flip.
Jags at Packers.
Oh, the Packers.
Yes. Washington at Detroit.
I know. Now, that's another one of these toss-up games. I don't know what to do about that game. I took Detroit.
Me too. Texans at Cleveland.
Yeah, that's a hard game, too. I didn't realize there were so many of these hard ones right off the bat. I'm going to take Cleveland.
I guess I will. I'm kind of torn on this, but I will coming off the bye. Tampa Bay, who embarrassed themselves on Sunday night.
I know. We've talked about. I'm going to hang in there with them. I just have to believe that they all had to be totally mortified and that they're going to get their act together. And so I'm taking my Bucks.
I will too. They're on the road against the Panthers. All right, Chargers at Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm taking Miami.
Yeah, well, they've won 4 straight. They've played well. I'll take the Dolphins.
I think Miami's doing pretty darn good.
They are. I'll take the Dolphins as well. Broncos at Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Raiders.
Bills at Cardinals.
Bills at Cardinals. Golly, I know that's a good game. I think
it's a great game.
I'm taking Buffalo.
Me too. 49ers at the Saints.
49ers at the Saints. I'm taking the Saints.
Seahawks.
Although I'm telling you, I don't think the Saints are as good as we made them look. But anyway, I'm taking them.
Seahawks at the Rams.
Yeah, I'm taking the Seahawks.
You are? I'm taking the Rams. All right, there we go. We've got one different.
I'm taking Seattle. Yeah. You're taking the Rams? Oh, wait a minute. I got to find this on my sheet here.
There we go. We've got one different. Seahawks and Rams.
Oh, gosh.
Bengals at Steelers.
Steelers.
Ravens at Patriots.
Ravens.
Vikings at Bears.
Yeah, that's a good game. I'm taking the Vikings.
I am too. There we go. We only have the one different. You're either going to be up 2 or we're going to be all even going into the next week, Mama.
Oh, we're going to be all even now. All right, now tell me which one is it we have different. Who'd you take?
The Rams. Come on, get it together. Good Lord, it was 2 seconds ago.
I know. Well, I'm looking on my sheet here while I'm talking to you. So anyway, okay, so you took the Rams and I took, who'd I take?
Okay, this is not good. We're documenting dementia on the air. Good Christ. You have the Seahawks,
well, we just
Mother.
did all of these games, and they're all in my head. So
you have the Seahawks.
Anyway, all right. I got it. Okay, yeah, I've got Seattle. All right. Yeah, so you're taking the Rams. That's it.
Seahawks have the worst defense in football, and it is one of the worst defenses to ever play, statistically speaking. Nobody's ever given up more pass yards per game than the Seahawks have.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, they're humiliatingly
Wow,
bad.
okay.
They gave up 280 yards passing in the first half last week to Buffalo. They average giving up 366 passing yards a game. They're an embarrassment.
Oh my! Well, they better get their act together too. Then they can't depend on their offense every week.
No, Russell's great. It's a good thing he is, or else they wouldn't win games. Love you, Mama.
I know he is really great. I'm telling you. Well, I'm hoping the Bucks are going to be great this weekend. I'll tell you. Does that game? Do you know what time that game is on? Are we at a 1 or a 4 o'clock?
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock.
Okay, well, at least I'll get it. When they come on late like that, then they upset the evening and dinner and everything because I can't, my stomach gets so in knots I can't eat.
It's a regular season game, Mom. You got to relax.
I know, I'm telling you, it's stressful. I tell you, this whole year has been one big stressful year.
Yes, it has for all of us. I love you. I got to move on, Mom.
Oh, my goodness. I'm telling you what, I am ready for 2020 to be gone. But anyway, we'll see now. And you guys, who does FSU play this weekend?
They play on the road at NC State. They're going to get stomped. The season's over. Don't worry about us anymore.
Oh, goodness sakes. I'm telling you, I know. Well, it's a crazy year. Yes, that's just another reason to get 2020 on the way out.
Yeah, it's been bad. I got to go, Mom. I love you.
All right. I love you too, sweetie. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't know what's going on with the phone. I don't think she can hear me. I've got to start documenting hearing loss as well. It's Is the house phone that confusing? I haven't had a house phone in years. Do we not remember that it was something where you couldn't hear people when they were talking? Is it the mic processor? I don't know what's happening. We'll come back, wrap it up. Jeff Cameron Show.
I jerk away from holding hands with you. I know these habits hurt important parts of
Yay, weekend. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, bright and early, 10 a.m., while you're watching College Game Day or not, you tune in right here to 97.9 ESPN Radio and or on War Chant TV there on YouTube. You can watch Tom and I talk a little FSU football with Tallahassee Game Day. That's the pregame show early. We counter-program against College Game Day. If you want some Knowles action early in the day, even for a night game, you get it tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Feel free to ask questions, and we'll get to them on the YouTube if they're accompanied by a tip. That's how that works. Yeah, since we bribe you, or you bribe us.
Yeah, we get some others, though. We do take some other questions.
We do. So there is, by the way, tonight, no high school football that we're carrying tonight. Instead, though, our man Rory McIlroy is back. I'm excited. The Rattler Review is coming up tonight. Hey, I don't know what he has in store on Rattler Review tonight, but I know that Mike Rice, the head golf coach at FAMU, has an all-time great team, a championship-level team. They're doing great things with FAMU golf. And given this is Masters Week and it's golf all the time for us, as much as we love the sport, it's good to see, man. It's good to see between FSU golf, which unfortunately got shut down this year for now because of COVID, and FAMU golf. Got a lot of really good, elite, young, collegiate talent in Tallahassee to pay attention to.
I can tell you that about 4 or 5 months, well, no, that's more now because of COVID. This is pre-COVID. I went and hit some golf balls early spring. And the team was out there. The Rattlers were out there hitting across the entire, it was the matted range at Heileman.
Yeah.
And my God, they found a space for me. They were awesome. I walked up and there was not a mat to be had. They said, "No, we'll give you this one. Don't worry, we'll work on this one." And so anyway, all around me were just cannons going off.
Yeah,
of these
It's
bombs
intimidating, isn't it? Yeah, you're like, okay,
because you can hit driver out there now if you're on the matted range in the back. It didn't matter for them. They cleared the fence. They cleared the marsh. They might have hit it over into the road. I don't know.
Still traveling, yeah.
But it's just the sound of the contact throughout. I think I hit it better. It was like that Tiger Woods commercial from years and years ago, where you remember the one where he bounces the club or the ball off the club and he hits it. He was actually doing that on the side for a different ad.
It was by accident, and then that became the commercial.
It's the Fantasia music, So he shows up and everybody starts hitting pure shots because they just see Tiger, and it's the example. That's the way I felt when I was golfing next to the Rattlers.
It is amazing that there is something to that, by the way, and you know this. If you're playing with somebody who's got great rhythm, it tends to affect you for the better.
Yep.
If you play with somebody who's playing well, oftentimes, just watch the PGA Tour. There's no momentum in a group. If everybody's playing poorly, it tends to stay that way. And like one of the worst things that can happen is you're right there in contention to win a golf tournament, and you enter the day, and one of the guys who's with you, who's obviously also in contention on a Sunday, or he wouldn't be paired with you, goes up and is on pace to shoot an 80. It's hard to generate any sort of run, and you see guys, they're affected by it, even the best of the best. But it works that way, too, where they're all going low. They tend to all go low at the same time. So, I could picture it. I could picture you out there hearing the rhythm and the sound of that. Be like, okay,
I'm no slouch, but compared to those guys, I'm a tremendous slouch, Judge.
Well, I was told recently by somebody who would know, I was at Killearn Country Club, and a member there said, man, FAMU's got a really good team this year, like potential national championship good kind of team, and that got me excited. I mean, we want national championships in Tallahassee. I don't care if it's TCC, Florida State, FAMU, high schools. I mean, I root for the city. I root for everybody in the community to do well, and I was unaware that FAMU had that level of elite play that they've accumulated in terms of talent right now, and I got all kinds of excited. I was like, all right, well, I'll have to pay close attention to that. There's a player that can't play right now at FSU. I don't think Trey minds me bragging on. There's a kid that came over from Sweden, and I'm not going to butcher his name until I can get it right, but and I won't put undue pressure on him, but he's got a kid who came over who has hit the ground running, and they're not allowed to play right now, but they hold contests with the team, and they go to different courses, and he looks like he's a real player.
So what you told me about him yesterday is all I need to hear, because you talk about how a group on the weekend at a major, they can pull each other down, right, in scoring. Well, when a coach and player are of a similar mindset, then Jameson Jimbo, right?
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant, maniacal in their own way, but they see the field unbelievably, unlike most other people. And Christian Ponder was that way with Jimbo. He's like, thank God.
Yeah.
He can see it.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes it's also about attitude. You're an extension of your coach. And you told me yesterday this guy's got some, what to him. He's got some sandpaper to him.
There's what
right?
for within this man's character.
That's
yes.
who Brooks was, and that's clearly who he is on the PGA Tour and in the majors. If that's who this guy is, that works perfectly with Trey.
Yeah, Trey
is not afraid.
No, he'll talk to you about things, and he's that way as a friend. I love him. We're friends.
He is blunt as can be.
Yeah, he'll say it. He'll let you know about it. He's also hard on himself, so that's the only way that works.
Oh, it's consistent across the board, but when you have a player that's no nonsense, that fits perfectly here at this program.
Yeah, and it's my hope that we get to see them in the spring and that obviously some things return to normal. I more and more every day we worry about that, and we look at the horizon and wonder what it's going to be. We all want to get out of 2020, but if 2021 is going to look the same as 2020, it's pretty difficult to kind of get you latch on to some hope here. So, and I'm talking about COVID affecting not just our lives, but sports that we love to watch.
Well, the trailing effect, I think, financially for the athletic department will be felt no matter what happens
There's
in the
no
first
getting
quarter
around
next
that.
year.
Yeah, there's no getting around
But
that.
if we can get to a place where the reports keep coming in for the studies and people who want to get a shot or two over 25 days can do so by the end of the first quarter next year, the light is officially at the end of the tunnel at that point. Remember when this all started and we did those very difficult shows? And I think it was the broken record thing for us was if you could just give us a day or a time when you believe that this thing is going to be passed, we can focus on that and attack towards it. Well, I think we're finally getting to that place.
I think all of us know that being in limbo is no way to go about your daily existence. It's a horrible, gnawing feeling when you can't have a conclusion that you can look out and see or work towards, right? And it's I remember Jimbo, you brought him up, but I remember him and I talking one time, and he was talking about attacking something, and he was saying, look, I don't like not knowing what the goal is. I don't like not knowing what we have to get to. I don't like not knowing what it is we should be doing in order to achieve this other thing, right? When you tell me what that is, even if it is, uncertain and
could be a mind game.
Yeah. I still need to know it so I can work towards it. And that's true. I think that's true of all of us.
So what I'm looking at is I'm seeing two different sectors. You've got the private sector. It's away from warp speed. That's Pfizer saying they're good to go at 90%, which is unbelievable. I'd like to see that reviewed a little bit. 60% is great. 90 is unbelievable.
Right.
But they're saying that they can roll this out at 50 million doses by the end of the year, and then you got a couple 100 million next year. And you've got several other studies that are using the same principles behind it, meaning you're going to have 4 or 5 options. So that's the private sector. That's people looking to make some coin. Then you've got the medical sector saying by April, I think, this is Fauci talking, that any person who wants to get a couple of shots can do so. All right. So 2 different people with 2 different goals are telling you the same thing.
Encouraging.
And I look at FSU baseball season, and that's where it comes back to Florida State sports. And I say the final month of FSU baseball season, you get into regional and super regional weekends, and you're telling me you can pack out Dick Howser Stadium? Yes. The spring game, that you can pack out the spring game? Yes, 100%. Those are the things that I'm mentally preparing for as a fan of Florida State, to where we can all go back to something closer to what 2019 looked like.
I've got a question for you. We've monitored throughout the day. We've kind of given updates here and there, brought to you by Killearn Country Club. When we reconvene on Monday, you don't have to name the winner, although I'll certainly encourage you to do it. But you got to give me the group on Sunday that we're locked in and the winner will come from. Who are the 3 players that were, let's say it ends like it did last year where you have 3, they have to pair 3 people. Who are the 3?
Paul Casey's going to be one of them. We forget that Paul Casey was with Morikawa for the PGA Championship. I think he knows this is one of your last chances. I think the desperation is
in
there.
his 40s now.
Now, he may screw me in the second round, and he's out of it, but it's difficult. Typically, we'd be closing on the second round today. You have a better idea.
Yeah.
Dustin's going to be there. I think Brooks is going to be there. He righted the ship earlier today, late first round into the second round.
All right.
I think Tiger's going to be there as well.
Loved him yesterday and everything he had to say. And I just think that, again, when you hear guys, Paul Casey, you bring up Paul Casey, and I haven't looked in the last half hour, but let me just say this. With Paul Casey, listening to his post-round interview, you can go from being indifferent about a guy to just straight up rooting for a guy, and it's the sentiments, it's the thoughtfulness, and it's the body language and the mindset that gets revealed in the question and answer session in Butler Cabin there. And he was, answering these questions, but the level of, and it's so seldom seen. I saw it in the pre-round interview with Tiger as well, and they said apparently it was an emotional dinner. I would have loved to have seen. I mean, can you imagine to have been there? Tiger broke down at the dinner addressing the folks there.
That's talking about his kids.
That's amazing. That's really cool. But hearing him, I guess I would say the gratitude, Tom.
Yep, he's graceful, too.
Casey's a smart guy. The gratitude Paul Casey had to be playing well at this venue, to be out of the house, to be playing golf, and to recognize what was happening around him at this special place. I already like Paul Casey. He's been revealed to be a great guy. He's apparently, according to other tour members, he's one of the great guys on tour. But we never think of him as anything more than a threat to win a non-major.
The Valspar. He's back-to-back champion.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. But he's played well in the Ryder Cup. But for whatever reason, Sundays have been tough on him.
He was one of the great European hopes when he was younger. And the thing was, you look at the way the PGA finished, and it might just be that he is too gracious. Not graceful, I was looking for gracious. He might be too gracious to have the killer instinct to go get one of these things. He might need to fall into it, and that's going to be tough at Augusta. You really need to go get it, especially on that back nine.
Yeah.
But he thought it was his day, and then Morikawa, hits the tee shot of all time on the back nine. And Morikawa said, I can't tell you how much of a pleasure it was to play with Paul, because as it was going the other way for him and it was going my way, he was rooting for me openly as we were finishing the round.
Yeah.
That's who the hell Paul Casey is.
It's awesome. And I think like Lee Westwood and some others that have played a long time and been in contention and won some tournaments and made a lot of money as being a pros pro, a top 25 annually type player, there are guys you root for, and then there are guys you're like Monty, nobody rooted for because he's an ass. I kind of still wanted him to win one, but he is an ass, and nobody really cared if he won one. And I'm talking about the players and the fans.
Right.
People want to see Paul Casey. People wanted to see Lee Westwood. People want to see good guys who've been good to other people for a long time and have been successful go win one. So I hope you're right about that. Good work out of you. Good work, Matthew. Again, Rattler Review is up next. Our man, Rory Chirac.
Who's your squad?
Oh, I like Dustin to win the whole thing.
Okay.
I picked him, and it's really going on a limb, take the world's number one, Jeff. No, I just thought he'd play well here. He's in great shape. He came in good form, and he carries the ball a mile.
I forgot about JT, and I'm going to regret that probably.
Well, a lot of people picked him coming in.
Yeah.
If you didn't take DJ, you took JT.
Well, the course is a little bit easier. You don't have those usual April wins. If it's still, that dude is a flag hunting fool.
One of the things about him real quick to note, and this is something every year when you go into the Masters, and this time around in 5 months when you go into the Masters, you should note this. Do you know that his average score has improved every year he's played the tournament?
You mean the Masters specifically?
Yes, the Masters specifically. He's gone from playing it poorly to playing it okay to playing it well. So in succession, if you go back through the years, he's gotten better every year he's played there.
That sounds about right. I mean,
yeah. So they thought coming in, now's the time you'd see him play.
There's no hole in his game.
Off the tee is the only hole in his game. When he gets wayward, that's it. But that's comes and goes.
But it's not. This isn't a tee-ball major. And that's the argument about Bryson, is it's not a tee-ball, it's a second shot major, and there's nobody better than when they're on.
He does, no doubt. He sticks his irons, and that's what was plaguing Rory for a while there. I mean, he's incredible off
wedges.
Just can't accurately hit a wedge. It's frustrating. We'll talk to you on Monday. Enjoy Rattler Review. It's up next.